The story starts off at the National Kendo Tournament in South Korea. Several kendo matches are going on simultaneously. There we see a specific fight where one player is seen being too skillful for his opponent. He is constantly avoiding his opponent's attacks and creating openings for himself to work from. And after a while, he lands a sickening blow to his opponent's head guard, sending him down to the mat and winning the match. We are then introduced to him, Shiho, the one who has won every match in his path in 20 seconds or less. He is hailed as the best kendo player in Korea by a long margin and also probably the best in the world. They wonder if there will ever be someone like him to take up the sports ever again. Then we move 3 years into the future where we see a very shady city, and inside one of the clubs in that place we see our main character Shiho in a suit and all matured up with sword in his hand. We then see that a lot of people were taken out by him using that sword, leaving us down to only 3 people for him to take on. They all take among themselves and decide that it will be in their best interest to finish of Shiho right then and there. They all attack him simultaneously, one with a lead pipe, the other with baseball bat, and finally, one guy with a chainsaw. Shiho is unfazed and he uses his superior swordsmanship to evade the baseball-wielding opponent and slashes his head off. Then he attacked the chainsaw wielder, who he cuts the arms off of. And finally, he slashes the pipe wielder in half with ease, leaving the place soaked in blood. All of them are out and one the opponents, who still has a hint of life in him, asks Shiho who he is. Shiho keeps silent, but we soon see a man smiling creepily and clapping come into the scene. He says that what Shiho did was very cool to watch and that he would like for him to join his own squad. However, Shiho speaks up and says that the man was the one to be blamed for the downfall of his entire family. So one of them, either Shiho or that person, needs to be wiped out forever. Then we go back 2 years in the past where we see that Shiho is living with his family in Gangneung. Shiho tells his mother that she should sleep well and not worry about anything. Shiho then checks out the news where we hear that the lower class people are going through a rough patch in South Korea and thus being led into severely crippling debts. Even taekwondo and kendo gyms are being shut down due to the lack of funds. The other news says that thieves are running wild on Seoul and they're targeting young alone women to steal from as they're vulnerable. However, that issue isn't being treated as seriously as other issues, so will it take for someone to lose their lives for them to take it seriously? Shiho then goes into his room and sees that he has a phone call. The call is from his kendo master, who is concerned and asks Shiho whether he quit doing kendo for good or not. Shiho says that he has indeed quit doing it. He says that he will be looking for a job to support his mother, who is sick. Then the kendo master tells him to come back instead of doing some regular job as his talent is too precious to be wasted on things like that. Only way kendo players can earn money is by running a gym, and the master tells him that he is willing to have Shiho as an instructor at his gym. Shiho, however, declines the offer as he is serious about getting a job and helping his mother. Then we see Shiho starting to pack up all his belongings into a cartons and bags. There he finds a photo of him with his mother from the past, where both of them are looking very happy. He also sees other pictures of his time doing kendo and winning awards and medals for his performances at the tourneys. He also sees picture of himself, his sister Sihyen, mother, and his sister's friend. He then thinks about when they had taken the picture. It was during the university admission of Shiho's sister. She takes a selfie with Shiho and their mom, and Shiho is disinterested in that. She says Shiho always ruins the pics by being gloomy and never smiling. Her mother then asks her if it is really okay for her to live in a high-class city like Seoul all alone. After all, it's not easy living alone as a girl, and it might not be safe either. She assures her mother, saying that Seoul is a safe place to live and that this is her chance. After all, many people from the smaller provinces come to study and live in Seoul, so there's no reason for her mother to think only she is the only person doing this. Her brother, Shiho, then tells her that if she ever gets into any trouble, she should draw an infinity sign. He explains that it's like an 8 lying on the side. His sister is annoyed from them being so worried for her and said that they worry too much. She then introduces her friend, Sua, to her family, and then they take a group photo together, which Shiho was seeing all this time. Back to the packing his belongings, he notices a weird message on his phone and starts worrying about his sister. He drops one of his kendo trophies and breaks it. He calls his sister's number and sees that it is not being picked up. He then thinks of the news of thieves targeting young girls who live alone. Cut to a different scene, we see that a bunch of thieves are checking a diary and joking about why someone would draw the same sign over and over again. They then say that they should leave before it's too late, as the person is still getting calls on her phone. The call coming in was from a contact named Brother, and the signs drawn were the infinity sign, and we see a girl hanging in her room. Then we see a picture of the now late Sihyen. Her funeral is being held, and people who know her are coming to pay their respect and mourn her loss. Sua, her college friend, is one of them, who makes a visit, and she is deeply involved in all the procedures. She asks Shiho how his mother is doing, to which Shiho tells her that she is laid out over there and has no energy to move around and check out everything. Sua is saddened by this and is about to leave, but she finds something unsettling, so she asks Shiho if they can talk outside. Then we see the both of them outside, and Sua finally breaks her silence when she asks Shiho how he is so calm despite the passing away of his own sister. Sihyen had always told her that Shiho was an emotionless psychopath, but she still didn't expect him to be so calm when his sister is no more in this earth. Shiho thinks of the past where a girl had asked him the same question, "Why is he a psychopath?" To which he had replied by saying that he is this way because he cares about her. However, this time around, he doesn't say anything about it and asks Sua if she has anything to say to him. Sua is pissed off by this, as she asks how can he be so calm when things are this way. But Shiho ignores the question and says that if she doesn't have anything important to say, he will go back to mourning. Sua, disgruntled, also leaves the place. Inside the mourning room, Shiho notices flowers given by the flash group's Yu In-zung. Later on, Shiho goes to his sister's apartment to check on her belongings, and he finds the record that Sihyen had a debt given by Yu In-zung, estimated at 1 million Korean won. This shocks Shiho, and he goes on to check further belongings of his sister. He finds a large and expensive set of beauty products, and the exotic and branded dresses. He then finds his sister's diary, where she had a picture with Sua in skimpy clothes and the Flash Bars logo behind them. He then turns the page to see the several hundred infinity signs that his sister had drawn for help, and this shakes him to the core. Later on, we see that Shiho has gone to Hanjin University, where his sister studied. The people are weirded out by seeing this unknown man. Sua runs into him, and they both go to a nearby cafe to talk. There Shiho shows her the picture she had taken with Sihyen and asks her what it is about. Sua simply says that it was taken at a club, but Shiho says that it was taken at the Flash Bar. We then see that Sua and Sihyen were indeed working at a bar where they would invite men, put on a show for them, and earn money for it. Sua seductively invites a man through text to see her at the bar, where they'd be wearing bikinis, and Sihyen tells her that the inviting part is the one that sucks the most about this job. Later, after getting dressed, Sihyen asks Sua to take a picture with her. Sua declines, saying that they shouldn't leave any trace behind of them working at that place. Sua insists, however, and they end up taking the picture which Shiho had just seen. Sua admits to working at a bar with Sihyen, but says that it wasn't anything indecent, as they wouldn't get touched by the men, and if anyone tried anything bad, they'd be kicked out. She also tells him that their manager is a kind and caring man, and that he also sent flowers for congratulations at the funeral. Shiho then asks if Sua is hiding anything about Sihyen from him. Sua is about to answer, but she spots the shadow of a mysterious man outside. She gets scared and tells him that there is nothing wrong and leaves the scene. We then see that Shiho's fists are bandaged up from punching the wall after seeing the infinity signs drawn by his sister for his help. He then realizes that his sister hadn't taken her own life and that there was controversy behind it. The scene changes, and now we are at the police station. At the police station, we see Shiho sitting down with Detective Lim. Shiho tells the detective that his sister's passing away was not due to her taking her own life, but instead has links to other places. The detective is skeptical of this and says that it doesn't make any sense to claim stuff like that. The detective asks Shiho if his sister was cremated at the funeral. If so, there is nothing that they can do, as an investigation into these things require an autopsy to say if it had other links to the passing away. And further on, it was Shiho's family who had told them that they don't want to do an autopsy, as they considered her passing away was a cause of Sihyen taking her own life. Shiho explains that they had declined to do an autopsy because his mother was against it. However, he has now found leads that makes him believe that it was not a cause of self-inflicted damage. He then tells Detective Lim about how he and Sihyen had planned that if they ever get into trouble, they draw the infinity sign to ask for help. The detective asks how would that work, and he says that they would just text an 8 to them. However, Sihyen was too scared about opening up about working at a bar to her brother, so she could never message her. So instead of that, she drew it over and over again on her notebook, as she felt helpless. The detective isn't ready to accept anything, and he tells Shiho that investigation can't work this way, and that they need concrete evidence for an investigation to take place. Shiho tells him that he could at least look into the bar she worked at and ask them some questions to get a lead from them. However, the detective refuses and says the most suspicious one is Shiho himself because he shows no emotion about such a serious situation. As he gets no help from the police, Shiho gets up and leaves the place. The police detective is making fun of him, saying that even weird kids are trying to become detectives without qualification. Later, we see Shiho at Namiangju, where he heads into his deceased sister's workplace, the Flash Modern Bar. He goes inside to investigate, and he starts picking out every minute details from the stuff going on there. Whether that be the outside bodyguard, the woman working, or the owner who is at the cash, taking a phone call from someone else, or how the dimension of the basement room is. He then enters the room and a girl comes in. The girl informs him about the rotating nature of it, how girls would change for every drink. She also tells him about the no-touching policy. The manager seemed ready for it because Detective Lim had already told them about how Sihyen's brother is suspecting them and is trying to find proofs against them, so the manager was ready for it. The girl asks if they should lie about being booked and kick Shiho out, but the manager tells the girl to tell everyone to give no information about Sihyen to Shiho and send him off properly. The girl also tells the manager that SUA hasn't been working since the Sihyen incident, but the manager tells her not to worry about that. Then Shiho keeps on buying drinks after drinks and getting himself drunk heavily as he asks every girl if they have anything they know about Sihyen. Everyone tells him that either they don't know her, don't care for her, or don't remember her. Left with no choice, Shiho decides to sign off by paying with his card. The manager and the girl send him off, telling him to come back again when he wants to, and after he leaves the bar, the manager says that they should do something to put him on the shelf permanently. On the streets, Shiho is left struggling from drinking so many times. He is struggling to walk, and the lack of information he gathered adds to his frustration. However, at that moment, we see 3 dangerous-looking men starting to follow Shiho with seemingly bad intention. However, Shiho seems down and out because of drinking so much. The 3 goons try to take advantage of it and approach Shiho. They ask him to come to the alley in the corner so that they can discuss stuff. After going there, Shiho is asked if he spent all his money on the girls and is told to give them money as well if Shiho wants to get out of their grasp safely. Shiho calculates that it will be very hard for him to take on these 3 at once in such a narrow alley. Shiho tells them that he doesn't have any money on him, so they decide to beat him up for it. They decide to break his legs and leave him crippled for not being able to give them money. Shiho wonders if all this is really because these guys want to steal money off of him, or could it be because he has been trying to get information about Sihyen from that bar? However, as they are getting ready to attack him, Shiho gets ready and pulls out some paper put together and wrapped and holds it like a kendo stick. He warns everyone that it will end badly if they try to approach him. Everyone laugh it off and make fun of him for holding paper stick like it is some sort of weapon. Meanwhile, the Flash Modern Bar manager is wondering if his goons have already taken out Shiho. So he goes out of his way to check the local CCTV feed to see if they have finished off Shiho. He goes there to find out that they've cornered Shiho. However, he is worried because from the unclear CCTV footage, it seems like Shiho is holding a knife. Back to the fight, the trio decide to end the funny games and attack Shiho properly. As Shiho is in full kendo mode, one of the goons run right into him, and he uses a very common kendo technique to hit the man right in the throat with the paper stick. However, Shiho's onslaught doesn't stop there, as he hits several super fast strikes to the man, which takes him out. Even though the stick is made of paper, due to Shiho's skill and precision, he can utilize it as a weapon. The next man tries to rush into him, still not taking Shiho seriously. Shiho shows his reaction time and agility to swiftly dodge past the man, and then jump up and take out the 3rd thug with a hard strike to the head. This shocks the only remaining man, as he asks Shiho just what is he using as a weapon. Shiho confirms again that it's just paper. The man then tells Shiho that he started the weapon fighting, so the man will continue it. The man brings out a big knife and says that he will be leaving Shiho gravely injured, and it will all be Shiho's own fault. However, it takes Shiho a fraction of a second to disarm the man, and after that, he brutalizes the man with his paper stick like how he destroyed all his kendo opponents back in the days. This puts the Flash Group's manager on notice as he can't comprehend what had just happened. Shiho then drops the paper stick, stomps on it as he leaves like nothing had even happened. The manager is still dumbfounded as to how he left 3 thugs laying in the ground all alone. He wonders just what's up with this guy as he gets up and makes a phone call telling someone to figure out just where Shiho lives and to figure it out as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, in his apartment, Shiho is unwrapping his busted fists as he thinks that Sua definitely knows something regarding Sihyen that she doesn't want Shiho to know about, as he thinks of what she said and how she behaved back then. As back then, he sat on Sua's seat to check why she looked so weird. He noticed that she must have looked outside and seen someone. He wonders if someone was watching her and is keeping her under their control. He also wonders that all those thugs attacking him can't just be a coincidence too. Maybe he can't put himself into more trouble if he goes looking for Sua again. However, Sua definitely knows something very important. On the other side, we see that the manager of Flash Group is sleeping peacefully when he gets a call from someone telling him about Shiho. He says that he has figured out the whereabouts of Sihyen's brother. He is told that the target's name is Yi Shiho. He is currently living in Sihyen's studio apartment. He originally intended to come to the place to check for his sister's belongings, but has decided to stay on for some reason. He says that Shiho's mother is in Gangneung Hospital at the moment and that she has broken down since the news of her daughter. The manager asks to reconfirm if Shiho is living in the same apartment as his sister, to which the caller says yes. He also adds that Shiho is a unique case because he is kendo champion. Even though kendo isn't very prestigious in South Korea, he is still a champion of the sport. The manager is a bit hung on the kendo champion part after hearing it. The caller then asks if they should finish off Yi Shiho, but the manager says that Detective Lim had told them to not make big moves, so stay put till then. The manager then searches for Yi Shiho on the internet, and he says that kendo really is unpopular in Korea. He then wonders how will he be able to put an end to Shiho without making things weird. Then we see that Shiho is sweating from hanging upside down and training his body for stamina. He is deep into the session when he thinks about the time when he saved his sister in the past when she was in an issue. His sister had asked if that what would happen if she ran into trouble again, to which Shiho told her to write the infinity sign. If she makes that sign, he will figure that she is in trouble and come to help her. However, the thoughts are interrupted as someone knows on the door, looking for Jian Deong. When Shiho opens the door, we see that it is the manager of the Flash Group. He recognizes Shiho and calls him the customer for yesterday. He then tells Shiho that he had rented this apartment for Sihyen to live in. However, some time has passed, so they were looking to move out of the place, but the landlord said someone was living there. Shiho then harshly tells him that he is not done organizing his sister's belongings yet. Shiho then asks the manager that he had seen a 1,000,000 won condolence, to which the manager informs him that he was indeed that man. He said that he had to do it after he heard what had happened to Sihyen. Shiho asks why is that so, to which the manager says that Sihyen was always precious to him, but he has regrets about her. He mentioned that Sihyen was one of the best workers at his bar. She always attracted an audience and could scout well. However, Sihyen got stolen away from him from the 10 Pro group. He informs Shiho that the 10 Pro group are the top dogs of the entertainment business. There is no contest between 10 Pro and anyone else. While 10 Pro also has a talk-only policy and no round 2 for additional stuff, he had heard that Sihyen faced something very humiliating while working for them, says the manager to Shiho. He also says that maybe that was the reason why she ended up taking her own life. The manager breaks down after saying this, trying to convince Shiho. Whereas Shiho is micro-analyzing every little thing about the incident. He notices how the manager clenches his hands uncomfortably, how he keeps wetting his dry lips and has an unstable stare. Shiho figures out that he is lying from his body language and acting, and then informs the manager that Sihyen's passing away was because of someone else. He further adds to this by saying that the funeral was held without Sihyen's body and that the body has gone for an autopsy. This bamboozles the manager as he doesn't know what to say. He is just scared because if the autopsy results come out, he will be in huge trouble. Shiho adds even more by saying that the body and autopsy results will come to him by tomorrow. This puts the manager in even more tension. With nothing to say, he tells Shiho that he is going to help him whenever he needs it, and that he will be going now. He then rushes on the CE and calls his thugs, saying that he wants Shiho to be dealt within the night. He tells them that he wants Shiho's life to be taken away just like his sister. However, he warns them about Shiho being a martial artist and that they should definitely not take him lightly and go with some of their best guides. We then see Shiho running around his Sihyen's apartment until he finds a bathroom cleaning brush and looks at it in deep thought. Then we see the day turn into the evening and the evening turning into the night. As in the dark, we see four very strong-looking men coming out of a car which had just arrived near the house that Shiho is living in. One of the guys comes out and says that it looks they'll have to finish off both siblings with their own hands. To which another goon says that this time they need four, but they don't care as they're getting paid a lot of money to do this. The big guy says that they should hurry up and get over with the job if they want to get the stuff they want. Then they make sure that all the equipments are packed correctly before going into work. After that, we see Shiho standing behind a wall with a long steel rod and observing everything. He calculates that if he lures them into the balcony area, they won't be able to attack all at once. Hence, only 1 to 2 will come and he will have to deal with them with 3-dimensional movement to defeat them all. Meanwhile, on the other side, we see the Manhwa talking to Detective Lim. He informs Lim about how Shiho said that he is getting an autopsy results of Sihyen's body, and while he doesn't believe it, he doesn't want to risk his well-being just in case he ends up getting her autopsy results, and that's why he sent his men to finish of Shiho all forever. Detective Lim says that as long as they can cover up things well and clean up the mess caused in the room, they'll be fine and police won't get it. Back to the apartment, the thugs have entered it and are looking for Shiho. They can't find him initially, but after a while Shiho shows himself to them. He tells them that if they are here for theft, then there is nothing to take. However, the thugs say that they're here to take his life away. Shiho warns them as he gets into position with the rod that he is trained in martial arts, so he doesn't want to hurt anyone. However, the thugs don't care about that and are making fun of him. Shiho says that he will not hurt them too much as they're weak. This angers the thugs as they all bring out huge knives to attack Shiho. However, as one of them goes forward to attack Shiho, he simply hits him with a straight downwards kendo swing to knock him out and break his knife. The next two are dealt with easily as well, as he takes one of them out with a hit to the shoulder and the other with a swing to the neck. The final thug remains, and he is trembling in fear of what's going to happen. He tries to swing his knife, but Shiho disarms him in the throat with the rod to knock him out as well. The next day, we see that Shiho and the thugs are in the police station in front of Detective Lim. Detective Lim tells Shiho that the people he attacked had no crime history, so he can't call them criminals. And besides, the only charge that can legally be filed against them is for trespassing. Whereas the actions of Shiho will be considered a bigger crime committed. He wielded a weapon and attacked several people and went into downright assault territory. All of the people that were beat up got seriously injured, and that's why he is a much bigger suspect than the guys who trespassed. Shiho tries to defend himself by saying that he only defended himself from trespassers and nothing more. However, Detective Lim tells him that the laws of South Korea doesn't work that way and that he will be held accountable for wielding a weapon and assault. Then Detective Lim takes Shiho to a lockup and locks him up. He says that he is locking him up because he is a vagrant whose real address should be in Gangneung, yet is living in Seoul for some reason. He tells him to not misunderstand. Then we see a guy from the same cell asking Shiho how he got into trouble. Shiho doesn't answer but turns around to see him. The man says that he can tell that he was put into here because of issues with manager Yoo In-sung. After all, Detective Lim is in cahoots with Yoo In-sung and helps him get out of trouble. He specifically came for duty today to make sure things don't go north for Yoo In-sung. Shiho asks him whether he knows manager Yoo In-sung, to which the man said he does. He was once family with Yoo In-sung. However, as time went on, he realized that Yoo In-sung was a scum. The man also tells Shiho that if he likes Shiho's behavior and if he tells him everything honestly, he will help Shiho get out of this cell. Shiho then decides to start talking with him. Meanwhile, on the other side, we see Detective Lim on the phone with Yoo In-sung. He tells him that he has locked up Shiho for a short period of time. However, he can't keep him for long enough. So he tells Yoo In-sung to stop causing too much trouble as he can't back then and everywhere. Meanwhile, back in the cell, Shiho tells everything to the man, who says that he can't really do anything to you Inzung as a normal person. Shiho says what if he isn't a normal person? The man says he needs to break a few laws to even get a chance. Shiho asks what the crime side of life is like. The man then gets up and introduces himself as Du Kyung-gu. He is the owner of a karaoke bar in Shinsadong. However, he is currently in lockup because manager Yu and his people make false accusations and lock him up for selling drugs or doing other illegal things. He says that he is kind of a criminal too, a gangster. However, he has since left that organization. He says that he has gotten used to it, coming to jail, proving his innocence, getting out and repeating. Shiho asks if he has a huge problem with manager Yu, to which Du Kyung-gu says that the problem isn't even manager Yu, it is Representative Yoon. He was in the same group as them. However, Representative Yoon did a bloody coup against their leader and took over as the leader of the organization and started their mean streak. Du Kyung-gu left the group because he didn't want to associate with traitors. He then goes back into topic about Sihyen and says that if everyone is keeping quiet about Shiho's sister's case, then it must be because Representative Yoon is involved. Representative Yoon is known to remove people who go against his will, so it can be possible that he is involved in his sister's case too. Shiho asks just how can he meet this Representative Yoon, to which Du Kyung-gu laughs and says that Representative Yoon is no normal person. Meeting him would require for Shiho to get into the nitty-gritty side of life, committing crimes and maybe even taking lives. However, he suggests Shiho to not do things like that as he has a life ahead of him to live. So he should just accept it as if Sihyen took her own life and move on. Detective Lim then comes to the cell and asks Du Kyung-gu to come out of the cell. Du Kyung-gu says that he will get Shiho out too. Fast forward to later, we see that both Yi Shiho and Du Kyung-gu are out. Shiho thanks Du Kyung-gu for getting him out, while Du Kyung-gu says that Shiho was being unjustly held anyway, so there is no need for him to thank him. He then gives him a business card to contact him in need, and if he wants to drink, he can come to his karaoke bar named Again. The drinks will be on Du Kyung-gu. He then loans some money from Shiho because he doesn't have cash on him to grab something to eat. Meanwhile, the scene changes and inside the office of a huge organization, we see a shirtless Representative Yoon talking about how humans look like ants from far above, while manager Yu Inzung is getting scared. Representative Yoon says that he can crush anyone like an ant, and after he sits down on his chair and desk, he asks manager Yu Inzung just what will he do about the current situation. Manager Yu explains to Representative Yoon that Detective Lim has said to them that he can't defend them for much longer anymore, because he has hit his limit. Representative Yoon says that it is their mistake for failing in the first place. If they never failed, this wouldn't even been an issue. Yu Inzung apologizes for failing. Representative Yoon asks him whether it is illegal for someone like Shiho to beat up those guys the way he did in South Korea. Yu tells him that it isn't legal and asks Yoon if they should file a lawsuit against Shiho for doing what he did. Yoon says that they shouldn't do that because then he might get involved in the case and might end up getting in trouble. Yoon tells you to talk to Detective Lim and fix everything up. Make it seem like nothing like this ever happened to begin with. If they pay 2 million Korean won to Detective Lim, he will definitely find a way to cover it up. He also asks Shiho is from Gangneung. Yoon says that if he is from Gangneung and if he is living currently in Seoul, then his house might be empty, and that might mean that some kids might go there to smoke cigarettes and mistakenly burn up the whole place. He suggests to use that as an excuse to burn down Shiho's house. He also says that Shiho's mother is alone in an hospital, so put a knife on her throat and send the picture of that to Shiho to teach him a lesson. And further on, Yoon asks if Sihyen ever had any debt. Yu says that she was just working in a small bar and never asked for anything extra over her salary. She never even asked for advanced payment. However, Yoon says that it doesn't matter if she had debts or not, just tell her mother that she had debts on her and make her pay a lot. He tells him to get it all done as he doesn't like useless people. He then gets a call from his goons who says that they've drained the blood from those 4 thugs who were supposed to take out Shiho. They then ask Representative Yoon if he wants them alive or wants them finished off. Yoon tells them to finish off those 4 because they're useless and he doesn't want them anymore. This scares manager Yu to the core, who quickly says that he will be going to Gangneung to handle the business right away, and immediately runs out of the office. Then we see manager Yu in his car, telling the driver to go faster. The driver says that this is the top speed, but manager Yu is angry, and he tells him to go even quicker, and so he does. Meanwhile, in Gangnam Hospital, we see Shiho's mom, sick and barely staying together. A nurse comes inside to feed her food, however. She refuses. The nurse tries to make her understand that she shouldn't skip on food and that it's causing damage. However, just at that moment, Manager Yoo In-sung walks into the hospital room and tells them that he is acquainted to Sihyen and that he is here to help her mother. The nurse tells him that Sihyen's mother is too sick and can't even talk properly. However, Manager Yoo gives her a box full of fruits and tells her that he just needs to talk to her a little in private. Sihyen and Shiho's mother signs with her hand to tell the nurse it is okay, and so the nurse leaves. Right then, Manager Yoo In-sung's mood changes and he goes straight into business. He tells her that her daughter Sihyen owns them money. He shows a fake contract that states that Sihyen had taken 200 million Korean won in advance from them. This puts Sihyen's mom into pressure. He then further goes on to say that Sihyen used to sell her body to earn money, and that she slept with many men to get money, and that's why he is here to claim back all the advance money she took. Sihyen's mother totally breaks down from this, and she finally speaks up by saying that Sihyen isn't the kind of girl who would do things like that. She was not raised like that. However, Yoo In-sung gets even more violent and grabs her hair before telling her that her daughter was indeed like that, and that she was a prostitute who would sleep with any men, saying that Sihyen took after her mother. Sihyen's mother keeps on saying that Sihyen would never do anything like that, but Manager Yoo keeps hurting her by pulling her hair and also verbally abuses her. At one point, Sihyen's mother's eyes go dull. She collapses and stops moving altogether. This scares Manager Yoo In-sung as he knows that he has seriously messed up now. Later, we see that Shiho is sitting in Sihyen's apartment, looking at the card Do Kyung-gu gave him. He wonders if he can ever rise up to the level of the gangsters. If he can't, then should he quit? Then what will happen to Sihyen's revenge? Just then he gets a call from Gangnam Hospital, informing him of his mother passing away. This moment breaks Shiho. However, he tries to show as less emotions as he can. On the other hand, we see Yoo In-sung talking to Representative Yoon on the phone. He tells Mr. Yoon about what happened in the hospital room and how Shiho's mother had passed away from it. Mr. Yoon asks if Yoo In-sung was the one who physically took her life. However, Yoo In-sung denies, saying that he only threatened her about the debt and maybe that caused the effect. Mr. Yoon then tells Manager Yoo to take back the debt money from the older brother. As in Shiho, Yoo In-sung seems hesitant, but he has no choice but to agree. And about the house burning, he says that he will handle that too. After the call, Manager Yoo looks visibly conflicted as to what he can even do at this point. However, he has no choice but to do it. The driver tells you that Director Choi lives in Gangnam City, so maybe he should give him a visit and ask for help. This triggers something in Yoo as he gets his mojo back and says that he will do that as he has an evil smile on his face. The scene changes to the funeral of Shiho's mother. Shiho is mourning another death of his loved ones, and that is when the nurse who was taking care of his mother comes. Shiho greets her and asks her how she knows about his mother. The nurse tells him that he was the woman taking care of her in the hospital. Shiho asks her to eat with him, and as they go to eat, the nurse speaks up about the day Shiho's mother passed away. She says there was someone who came to meet her that day. This news shakes up Shiho a bit as he listens to her continue. She says that the man who came to meet his mother and wanted to have some small talk with her privately. Even though the man who went to talk looked neat, the person standing outside, who told her to leave from the area, looked like a gangster. She recalls that she heard some loud screaming noises from the room. However, the guy guarding outside wouldn't let her in. She says that she was away for 10 minutes, and when she came back, she saw that his mother had already passed away. As they are talking, we see a bunch of unknown people enter the funeral house and start a ruckus. They start breaking things and say stuff like, "Why would anyone celebrate the funeral of a prostitute's mother?" The thugs enter the room and are making a scene. Shiho asks them how they had gotten there. The thugs don't take him seriously and start making fun of him. They ask him if he is the chief mourner and if the dead is his mother. One of them says that if one speaks ill of someone's mother, they get mad. However, Shiho's face didn't even change. They say that he must be scared. They then tell him that his sister Yi Sihyen had a debt which was bought of by them. So it is 200 million Korean won plus another 100 million won of interest, so 300 million won in total for them to pay back. They ask Shiho how he will pay back all that money. Shiho says that they have a house of their own, to which the guy says that he knows that much from his research. However, The house is burning as they are speaking, so he can't rely on that. Despite this, Sihu's face doesn't change and they wonder how he can keep a straight face, while one of the guys says that he must be frozen due to shock like some people get that. They keep harassing Shiho, they grab his colors, smack his face and threaten him up a lot. Shiho tells that they have some money in the safe and that he will bring back those money and give it to them. The guy asks Shiho if that some money is 300 million Korean won and when he would be able to give those money to them. Shiho says that he will give the money to them after the funeral is done and over with. However, this pisses them off, as they are obsessed with the money and want it as quickly as possible. They tell Shiho that they want it before 12 a.m. midnight and that it's the final time. Shiho asks for the location he needs to give it to them. They then give him a card, which shows their address. They are the members of the Choi group and they want the money at the Choi liquor and clothes store. Later on, we see that Shiho has arrived to the Choi liquor and clothes store with some baggage. However, it isn't just any baggage. He has come with his kendo stick to teach them all a lesson. The scene changes to inside the Choi office. We see that they're waiting for Shiho to come. It's 11:59 already, and they wonder if Shiho will come. They discuss if the funeral home is closed by now, and one of them say it is, as it's very late in the night. They decide that they'll finish him up if he doesn't come with the money. One of them asks if it was important to gather so many people for this thing, to which another one said this is done to intimidate Shiho. We then see Shiho, who has come inside the building and is approaching the room. He gets a call from his master in kendo, Park Tae-il. Park Tae-il tells him that he is hosting a kendo tournament in Japan, and that if his mother's funeral is already over, he says that he will grab the earliest flight back to Korea tomorrow morning and give Shiho a visit. Shiho hangs up by saying that he will talk later as he has some important business to attend to. Shiho then thanks the teacher in his head for everything he taught him and says that he probably won't see him tomorrow. Meanwhile, we see the Choi gang look at the clocks and sees that it is already past 12. They wonder if Shiho ran away from here and that it can be possible because everything closed and the night is very dark. The leader of them called Manager Yu Inzung and tells him that Shiho still hasn't come and maybe had ran away. Manager Yu gets mad saying they should have taken better care of this case and that they shouldn't have let him go back then and hope that he would bring all the money for them. As they are on the call, Shiho enters the room. The leader hangs up the call and asks why he had been so late and if Shiho brought back any money along with him. Shiho says that he brought back nothing, as he stands there with his kendo stick. The leader gets pissed off and asks if he is joking with them and tells his good to gather him because he is asking for it. As Shiho takes stance and wonder to do in this situation, everyone gathers around him, and the leader of the Choi say that he has no way out of it at all as they've got him covered from all ends. The attack quickly starts as one of the guys squares up to Shiho with a lead pipe. However, Shiho, who is one of the best ever at kendo, is too skilled for him and he lands a thudding shot to first disarm him and then taking him out with a kendo stick strike. Everyone as his path gets obliterated one by one, and he uses his trusty kendo stick to beat people up vertical and horizontally. He even uses the knife to make someone blind. He soon takes out almost everyone. The leader is shocked by this and orders for everyone to take him out forever. On the outside, we see that there is heavy rainfall in the area near the Choi liquor and clothes store. Suddenly, one of the windows of the store breaks off, and one of the goons from the inside falls off from it, busting his head open and leaving a pool of blood. Inside the office, we see that bodies are lying everywhere, all in incapacitated states as there's only one man who stands tall, Shiho. Shiho is walking towards the leader of the Choi gang with his kendo stick in hand, and the leader is now scared and is looking very helpless as he pleads to Shiho for him to leave him off. Shiho, looking more serious than ever, points his kendo stick towards the man and asks him just who is behind all this carnage that the Choi group has caused. Out of sheer fear of being mauled by Shiho, the leader speaks up in a trembling manner saying that he was caught in a counterfeit. Shiho asks the leader what he means by counterfeit. The leader hastily explains that he was told that they were selling bonds of 200 million Korean won for just 5,000 only. So he bought them and caused trouble for Shiho and his people, and it ended up causing him more trouble than anyone else. Shiho says that he will let the leader off without hurting him if he tells him who was the one who sold him the counterfeit bonds. The leader hesitantly says that he doesn't know exactly who it was. However, it was someone from Seoul, who runs bars and body salons. The description of this person matches with Shiho's image of Manager Yu Inzung, and so he goes on, without hurting the leader. As Shiho walks off and tries to open the door to get out, the leader doesn't really get it. He wonders if Shiho is dumb for letting him off freely, so he tries to sneak up on him from behind with a knife. He dashes in trying to stab Shiho with a knife. However, Shiho turns around and swings his kendo stick hard to knock the knife out of the leader's hand, before delivering a thudding straight hit to the leader's head with the stick, leaving him beaten and busted up, leaking blood. We see Shiho as raged up and angry as we've ever seen him as he does so. Meanwhile, the next day at the funeral home, we see Park Tae-il, Shiho's kendo master, paying a visit and mourning the passing away of Shiho's mother. He checks his texts where we see a message from Yi Shiho where he says that he couldn't visit Park Tae-il because of the condition of his heart at the moment. He also sent him a text saying that he has transferred whatever little money he had on his bank account to the one of Park Tae-il's for him to hold a proper funeral for Shiho's mother. He also promises to meet Park Tae-il someday. Park Tae-il wonders just what is up with Shiho these days. On the other hand, we see Yi Shiho walking around the streets of Shinsadong as he looks for the again karaoke bar owned by Do Kyung-gu. He eventually finds it and enters the karaoke bar as he is met by Do Kyung-gu himself, who welcomes him. Shiho says that he came here for a drink as he was promised one by Do Kyung-gu. Do Kyung-gu tells him to go and sit inside as he will go bring him the drinks and the prettiest girl. Shiho sits inside as Do Kyung-gu walks in and asks him why he came so early because the girls don't actually start working until 8 in the night. Shiho says that he doesn't want a girl and just wants to talk with him. Do Kyung-gu asks him what he wants to talk about, and Shiho says that he wants to work for the again karaoke bar. Do Kyung-gu tells him that they're already full and don't have space for another employee. Shiho insists, saying that he doesn't need a salary to work, he just wants a place to eat and sleep in. Do Kyung-gu guesses that something must be wrong with Shiho with the way he is behaving but doesn't ask explicitly. However, he lets Shiho know that there isn't much he can do to help him in this case. Shiho says that Do Kyung-gu had told him of one way to get close to Representative Yoon, referring to when Do Kyung-gu says that he needed to join the life of the underworld, do crimes and take lives to get into a power struggle with them. Do Kyung-gu confirms what he says, and he can't believe that he chose this path, as he thought Shiho would move on with life. He laughs it off, however. Shiho is damn serious. Shiho tells Do Kyung-gu that he will back him as he sees Representative Yoon as a traitor, and while his motives might differ from that of Do Kyung-gu, they can still work together. Do Kyung-gu laughs it off again, saying that Shiho is crazy for thinking that he can do that, but Shiho is adamant. This brings the serious side of Do Kyung-gu out as he says that a normal person like Shiho has no business saying what he just said, and that if anyone else hears this, his life will be in danger. Do Kyung-gu says that he will pretend this conversation never happened before he goes out of the room. Devastated by the reaction, Shiho, instead of drinking from the glass, grabs the entire bottle of whiskey and gulps it down in one go, which makes him lose consciousness. Later, we see that people have gathered around Shiho to wake him up. One of them is a pretty young lady. As Shiho wakes up, he sees the face of the young lady and sees Sihyen in her. He is shocked by this as he asks the girl if she is Sihyen, to which the girl also asks him about how he knows her name. He can't believe that Sihyen is alive. Later on, we see that Yi Shiho is sleeping peacefully on a couch before he slowly comes back into his senses and jumps up from the couch as he realizes the things that had transpired. Do Kyung-gu is sitting there waiting for him to wake up, and when he does, he asks Shiho if he is back up, and then he says that he didn't realize that Shiho was such a soft human being. He thought of him as someone stoic and composed with himself, but it turns out that he is not. Do Kyung-gu then gets up from his seat and walks away in disappointment when Shiho calls him from behind and tells him about how his mother is no more in this world. Do Kyung-gu gives his condolences to Shiho, who further goes on to say that they, the Flash Group, are the ones who had finished off his mother. Shiho also tells Do Kyung-gu about how they made a scene at the funeral home and disrespected his late mother. And that's what broke her so hard, he says as he clenched his fist. Shiho then gets up and apologizes for causing so much trouble to Do Kyung-gu and says that he will see him later. But just as Shiho is about to leave, Do Kyung-gu stops him and tells him to wait a bit. Do Kyung-gu then asks Shiho if he has a place to go to which Shiho says that he doesn't have one. Do Kyung-gu then reluctantly agrees to let him on board. He tells Shiho that he doesn't know why he is so soft-hearted, but if he doesn't have a place to go, he can work at his karaoke bar. He also tells him that he can sleep here at night as this was used as a hideout anyway during the crackdowns. Shiho doesn't understand what he means by crackdown, so Do Kyung-gu assures him by saying that while there used to be crackdowns back in the days, it doesn't happen anymore. It used to happen in the early days when they first made the karaoke bar. Shiho then notices the expensive pool cue and balls that are framed in the wall and stares at them. Do Kyung-gu notices this and tells him not to stare at them as they're expensive. Do Kyung-gu then further adds by saying that he shouldn't try to interfere in the business of Representative Yoon Sang-tae as that will put his life in a lot of danger. He should instead focus on the store from now on because he is a store manager. He then goes on to telling Shiho to not take orders from anyone else and only focus on what Do Kyung-gu says and listen to him only. Shiho agrees with all the conditions. Do Kyung-gu then asks Shiho how he knows about Sihyen. Shiho is a bit taken aback by hearing that name. Fast forward to later, we see that Shiho has dressed himself up in a suit and has started working as the manager of the again karaoke bar. There he is talking to Sihyen, the girl who he had mistaken for his sister earlier. Sihyen says that her name is Sihyen and asks if Shiho will be working in the karaoke bar from now on. Shiho confirms this by saying that he will be working here from now on, and also tells the beautiful lady that he is sorry for what he did, and said when he got over drunk. The beautiful lady says it's fine and that she doesn't mind. However, she asks about the name Sihyen. She asks Shiho if he mistook her for someone else, like if the name belonged to an ex-girlfriend of his. Shiho formally then tells her that he will be careful of what words he uses from now on. This visibly cringes out Sihyen and makes Shiho question if anything is wrong. Sihyen, still cringed out, asks if Shiho has any idea how old-fashioned he just sounded by the way he spoke just now. She says that it gives her chills wondering if Shiho is even from the 21st century. Shiho decides to ignore what she said and stays quiet. This gives her the chance to tease Shiho a little as she gets close to him and say that Shiho is really very old-fashioned. Shiho still keeps quiet about all things said, but Sihyen goes on to tell him to not be like this, to not be weak, because the weak are preyed upon here. Shiho says that he appreciates the advice from Sihyen, while Sihyen still teases him for how formally and professionally he has been talking with her. Then some time passes by and finally, Do Kyung-gu introduces Shiho to everyone as the new assistant manager and tells everyone in the bar to also introduce themselves to him. He first introduces the 21-year-old waiter, named Hoon. Then he starts introducing the employees. Then introduces Shiho as Kim Shiho and suggests everyone to call him Manager Kim. He then tells everyone to get along and get to know about one another as there might be things they don't know about one another, and also take care of each other. Sihyen gives an enthusiastic yes to show her agreement, so Do Kyung-gu asks everyone else to do the same and they do so. Later, we see Aaron talking to Sihyen about how good-looking the new assistant manager is. Sihyen says that while that is true, Shiho is still very old-fashioned and is delicate like a flower. Says that he might even cry if he has to live in these tough situations. 1 month later, we see that waiter Hoon is on the phone with Do Kyung-gu and after getting off, he tells everyone that they must close the bar off for today. Sihyen sighs asking if it's that day again, to which they say yes. They explain to Shiho how every month they get a fake case filed against them and how it ends up sending the boss to jail for a day or two. Shiho remembers how Do Kyung-gu told him about these things when they first met, but he still asks if it's not possible to run the bar while this goes on. They explain how doing that will put the boss and themselves at trouble because shady people come in and try to do very weird things to get stuff out of them. Manager Ryan then tells Shiho that he doesn't understand because it's his first time experiencing this as a manager. She also tells everyone to close out the bar. Then they tell every customer to leave the bar and refuse to take their payments. Some get mad because it is closing down so soon, but they don't waste time. They close off the bar and everyone goes their own way. However, just when everyone leaves, we see that Shiho has turned back on the lights for the bar from the outside, and in the inside, we see him ready to fight using the pool cue sticks from before. We see that director Yoo In-sung is on a phone call with the people he has sent to tail on Do Kyung-gu's karaoke bar. They inform him that the bar hasn't been closed off and that the lights are still on in there. This makes director Yoo worry as he doesn't understand why the lights would be turned on in the karaoke bar at that time. He asks the person on call if Du Kyung-gu was still in the detention center, to which the person says that he was. Director Yu doesn't really understand what to do in this situation and goes into his secret room to bring out the private phone he got to call Representative Yoon. He calls Representative Yoon to inform him that the bar lights are still on despite Du Kyung-gu being sent to the detention center not that many days ago. We see that Representative Yoon is at a lavish hotel with a girl in his arms, and he doesn't like the fact that Director Yoon called him to tell him about such a pesky and stupid thing. He tells Yu In-sung that the phone wasn't given to him to just make random calls. Yu In-sung apologizes for his mistake and just asks Representative Yoon if he should just go in to check out on what's happening with the Again karaoke bar. Yoon curses out after hearing this and says that he didn't pick Yu In-sung to be a director so that he would ask every little thing to him. The girl who was with Representative Yoon tells him that swearing isn't allowed, and this makes him give her a wicked side eye look to scare her off. Yoon Sang-tae then asks Yu In-sung about Shiho and whether they've managed to find anything in him after he left Gangnam. Director Yu informs him that they have no idea on where Shiho is hiding at just yet. Yoon Sang-tae says that he plans on finishing Shiho off the moment they find him and he sees him. However, then he changes topic and asks Yu In-sung about what's wrong with the Again karaoke bar. Are they running the bar without Du Kyung-gu? Yoon doesn't get it how they're running without the help of Du Kyung-gu, who was one of the integral part of their gang. Yu In-sung asks Yoon what they should do in this situation, and this pisses off the representative. So he breaks his alcohol bottle in anger, saying that he is thinking about what to do. Yu In-sung, on the other hand, feels secure knowing that someone as smart and as decorated as Yoon Sang-tae is using his brain on this scenario. Yu In-sung then waits for an order, and then he is told by Yoon to bring in Kim Tae-chong while he is at it. The name shocks Yu In-sung after hearing it, and this makes Yu Sang-tae call up his men right away and prepare for Kim Cha-chong. He wondered just why did Yoon Sang-tae make such a big tall decision. Then we soon see the R where the Again karaoke bar is at get filled up by a lot of cars that were carrying many people on them. This makes whatever little amount of people who were outside that late at night get scared and go indoors, as the entire area is filled with people carrying weapons like sticks and rods. We then see the man leading this squad, a huge chunky bald man, get outside his car and start chewing on bubble gum, a contrast to his intimidating look. After getting out, they are ready to go in and make a huge mess. However, their leader suggests for only 2 guys going in at first and checking out if they're really running the shop or if they made a mistake sorts. As ordered, 2 of the thugs enter the Again karaoke bar and see Shiho sitting there calmly. They ask Shiho if they're open or not and whether they'll be open to do some business. Shiho politely answers him by saying that they are indeed open and that he is open to serving them drinks and foods as services for now. The Stooges hear all this and go back to report to their squad. They inform them about everything that Shiho said and also inform that Shiho is a new guy and likely doesn't have much experience on how they do things around there. This in itself is enough reason to convince the entire squad that they need to go inside and annihilate the Again karaoke bar. As they all go inside and get ready to make some chaos happen, Shiho goes ahead and holds the metal stick and the cue stick of Du Kyung-gu to get ready to defend the bar. He understands that it's a very long and toxic relationship for it to have ended up in this way where they could abuse them all they want, and they just hide themselves in fear. And he understands that it's hard to even conceptualize change, let alone make it happen. But tonight, he wants to break free from the cycle. Tonight, he wants to liberate the Again karaoke bar. The entire squads of thugs gets inside and lock off the exit so that Shiho can't run away. They go a bit forward to see Shiho standing there, wielding 2 sticks as if they were blades or something. They make fun of him, and the leader of the squad even says that while he didn't intend for it, but now he really wants to finish off Shiho for good. They call him a rat caught in a trap, whereas Shiho confidently tells them that they're the rats who walked right into his trap. And thus will start the battle between Shiho and these hired goons, which will determine of what will happen to the bar from now onwards. Just then we see a mini flashback of what happened 4 years ago. It was a nationally held kendo demonstration event, where we see several people with kendo sticks surrounding Shiho, who is on his own. Kendo in South Korea is a very niche sport and is not even considered a sport for most parts. However, Shiho is a talent on another level. His talent for the art of kendo is unparalleled, and he is one of the greatest prodigies the art has seen in the world. It is said that sometimes back, a Japanese maestro by the name of Yuta Shinsuke also appeared in the kendo world, and that was someone who had dominated the Japanese national scene for 5 straight years, where he won each and every titles and accolades. However, what makes Yi Shiho different from Yuta Shinsuke is that Yuta was a master of the Ito Ryu, whereas Yi Shiho is a master of both the Ito Ryu and the Nito Ryu. The demonstration goes as smoothly as it could as we see that Shiho uses his acute vision and swift skills to handle many trained men all at once. And that is what it's all about. Ito Ryu is about fighting a singular opponent at once, while Nito Ryu is about fighting multiple opponents at once using 2 sticks on both hands. And Yi Shiho is a master at that art. Cut back to the present time, and that is the scenario here. Several people all charging at him at once with weapons of their own, versus Yi Shiho, who is using 2 sticks to defend himself. And thus starts the fight, and it goes just like how his demonstration from years ago went, technically perfect. Yi Shiho takes the oncoming opponents from up front by using the shodo, which is a short arm sword technique to hit their necks and leaving them down flat, while simultaneously spinning around his other stick in a dado-like manner, which is long hand sword technique to keep more oncoming attackers away from him and maintaining distance. Using 2 of the most principal techniques of Nito Ryu as his core against multiple opponents. He also uses another very common technique in Nito Ryu to take an early advantage against the stationary opponents of the group by using the men, which is a direct hit to the head. One of his opponents managed to use the constant movement as an advantage and manages to sneak in deeper to attack Yi Shiho. However, he uses a defensive Nito Ryu move, which sees him using the short-hand sword to hit the opponent in the wrist to disarm them and buy some valuable time. And that time is enough for someone like Shiho to use the Chudansei, which is a roundhouse motion swing of the long-handed sword to take out your opponent. One, the opponent gets behind Shiho and tries to attack him from behind. However, his battle awareness is too good, and he uses the same Chudansei roundhouse swing technique to trip out the attacker's leg and make them fall right onto the leader of their squad. Shiho is wreaking havoc against a lot of people on his own. He jumps up and soars over them all like a falcon as he picks out his opponent, uses his Nito Ryu skills to attack the ones he wants and defend himself all the while doing so. As he realizes the fact that he has taken over and taken control over everyone, Yi Shiho decides to change positions and tactics now. He makes a forward motion lunge forward, using his 2 sticks simultaneously to show everyone a little taste of what a proper dual-wielding beatdown looks like. He ends up hitting the neck, back and head of all his opponents until no one is left standing. All of them are down, all of them are out, and the only one that stands is Yi Shiho. However, just like how it went in the demonstration, after he was done taking out everyone one by one, he still had the boss of the dojo to take care. In this case, he has the leader of the squad of gangsters who came to destroy the again karaoke bar, left to duel with. This one is going to be a one-on-one affair. The intimidating leader asks Yi Shiho just where he developed such mercenary skills from. However, Shiho was never one for the words, so he doesn't talk back, and the lack of reply angers the leader, as he dashes forward with the metal rod in hand and goes for a straight axe-like swing to hit Yi Shiho's head. However, all of this is kiddie games to a veteran of kendo, who uses the dado long hand sword technique to easily block the uncoordinated attack to his head. The leader tries to push his hit in, trying to disbalance Yi Shiho in the process. However, Shiho holds a firm defense with the kendo, and uses the downwards momentum to explode forward and hit the leader with a shodo short-handed swing. The leader spots this and tries his best to reach back in time to block the shodo attack. However, it was all just a feint from Shiho, who used this to free up his long hand stick. He then uses the long hand to hit a super hard blow to the leader's bald head, which leaves him busted up. However, Shiho isn't done yet as he delivers a rounded attack to the dome of the leader, making him splurt out blood, as he wins the fight and stands on top of the ones he beat down, just like he did in the demonstration 4 years ago when the crowd cheered their hearts out for the performance he put on. This time, there's utter silence as he has beaten up everyone in that building. Next up, we see Representative Yoon Sang-tae on a call with director Yoo In-sung. Yoon Sang-tae asks if it's true that one of his trusted men in Kim Tae-chong was defeated along with the 20 men that he took along with him. Yoo In-sung confirms this and says that is what happened and that it seems like that Do Kyung-gu was prepared for this and purposely prepared mercenaries who ended up doing what they did. Yoon Sang-tae goes into a worrying state as he wonders if the mercenaries are the guys who were against his takeover of the gang and are now coming out of hiding to rebel against them. He wonders if this is the plan from the 1GA guys who were against him. Yu Inzung asks Yoon Sang-tae if they should to prepare up and go on the attack and attack the entire group of people and take them all out. However, Yoon Sang-tae tells him that it will be dumb to do that because that is exactly what they want. They probably want an aggressive step forward from them so that it can be used against them. It is something those guys are prepared for and have purposefully set up the trap this way for them. He asks Yu Inzung if he is out of his mind for suggesting such an outrageous plan. Yu Inzung apologizes. However, all of this puts even more pressure onto an already distressed Yoon Sang-tae, who knows that they need to assess the situation properly first. He then bangs the desk in front of him and tells Yu Inzung to pass on his word. The scene then changes to inside the again karaoke bar, where we see Do Kyung-gu asking Shiho, who is cleaning up the mess that was made yesterday, about what one said to him and if all that was true. Shiho tells Do Kyung-gu that it was true. He says that a bunch of unknown people attacked the bar late at night, and for that reason, he had to defend himself against them, and that is why it happened. Do Kyung-gu asks Shiho why didn't he just close down the karaoke bar then? Because everyone must have told him to do that, and doing that would have most certainly avoided all of this issues. Shiho simply reminds Do Kyung-gu of the time when the boss, told him to only listen to him and no one else. So he didn't listen to what others said and listened to what the boss told him, which was to protect the karaoke bar. It comes back to Do Kyung-gu that he had indeed told Shiho to not do anything on his own impulse, and he should just mind his own business of being a manager and protecting the again karaoke bar being his main duty going forward. He had also warned him to not take orders from anyone else other than him. Shiho then tells him that he has protected the bar to his best ability and made sure that the furnitures didn't get broken. And for the stuff that did get broken, he has already cleaned up almost all of it on his own. However, there was a phone that was damaged, and he apologizes for that and gives the phone to Do Kyung-gu. Do Kyung-gu takes the phone and says it was Sihyen's and that he needed not to worry about that and worry about the fact that his actions could now lead to a war breaking out. He then tells Shiho to leave the cleaning for now and to come sit down with him so that they can talk. Do Kyung-gu tells him that he has opened a bank account on his own name and has put all the money Shiho earned in it. He gives him the debit card for it and the PIN of it to Shiho to use. He also gives him a brand new phone which he bought for Shiho using his own name and has connected it to the bank account so that Shiho can manage it better. Shiho thanks him for it, but Do Kyung-gu tells him that it's the only thing that he can do for him and tells him to leave the place. Do Kyung-gu further adds saying that Yu Inzung had called him and said that if he handed over the guy who attacked Kim Tae-chong and his squad, he will let them off easily. However, Do Kyung-gu can't do that, and so he wants Shiho to leave so he can use it as an excuse saying Shiho ran away. That's the only way, because if Shiho stays, it will just give them an excuse to attack the again karaoke bar. Shiho says that there's a second option, that being Do Kyung-gu telling them to not touch their business again. If they do, the consequences will be much harsher. Do Kyung-gu sighs and asks Shiho why he is picking fights that can't be won. He says that picking a fight with Yu Inzung and co is like a kid picking a fight with a professional wrestler. The chances of that turning out well is 0 because the power gap is too big. Shiho says that they'll see what happens. This confuses Do Kyung-gu, but Shiho goes on further saying that as someone who has been on top at something for a while, he can tell, but Do Kyung-gu interrupts saying that being on top of kendo doesn't hold any value as it's not a professional sport, but a recreational one which people choose to train in. It holds 0 value in South Korea, but Shiho further adds that he was on top of the kendo scene worldwide. Do Kyung-gu is taken aback by this. Shiho goes on to say that as someone who has seen the stuff from the top, he can see the furthest, and thus he can tell that they're not opponents to run away from, but opponents to take head-on and defeat. And defeat them he will. Do Kyung-gu sighs and asks if Shiho thinks he will be able to take them down on his own, to which he says that he is sure that he will take them down. Do Kyung-gu then says that if he is so confident about this and has come so far forward in the approach, they might as well go along with it. However, for that to happen, he will tell him about the situation they're in first. He says that years ago, Seoul was divided in two, one half belonging to the Donghae faction, the other one belonging to the Chani faction. However, things changed up when the leader of the Chani faction gave the ownership away to the newer generation. This then started a procedure of Seoul reunification under the leadership of Do Hyun, who, with the help of Woo Dae-man, managed to reunify a lot of Seoul. Things were going well for Do Hyun's reign, however. Woo Dae-man was attacked by the Donghae faction and passed away from that attack. This disrupted a lot of things, and the one who took over for Wu Dayman was his daughter Ji-hee. Ji-hee was being put into pressure by the Dong-hae faction as well, but Do-hyun's faction did all they could for her and even decided to divide the land of the faction, including the newly gained ones, in two. One side belonging to Do-hyun, while the better side of it, which included the prestigious Gangnam, was given over to Ji-hee to recognize the good work and sacrifice of her father. However, Ji-hee was no gangster, so she gave her share of the faction to Jong Pyong-wook. Jong Pyong-wook was Wu Dayman's most trusted man. He was incredibly loyal to Wu Dayman, and all he wanted now was to ensure the safety of Ji-hee. So he took over the share, and he never got directly involved with the 17 sub-organizations under him as long as they paid their fees in time. One of those 17 organizations was the Gold Trading Company, and that is where Do Kyung-gu worked. However, that was also the place where Yoon Sang-tae was deeply involved. One such day, Yoon Sang-tae gathered them, the boss Kim Il-woong, second-in-command Kim Gun-woo, Yoo In-sung, and Do Kyung-gu at the Gold Trading Company office and said that Jong Pyong-wook only seems to care about the money, and as long as it runs and as long as it keeps coming in, he doesn't care about the lower organizations and how it is operated, so they should just take over all the lower organizations. One of them asks what they'll do afterwards. Hand over Jong Pyong-wook to Do-hyun so that he can complete a full takeover? Yoon Sang-tae says that Do-hyun is only interested in taking more of Seoul, and they can take the lower organizations and look into the outskirts of Seoul like Namiangju or Panjio. All they need to do is to keep paying Jong Pyong-wook, and then when they have enough power on their side, they can just take over Do-hyun and get the entirety of Seoul for themselves. The boss Kim Il-woong says that it isn't as easy as Yoon Sang-tae is making it sound like, and that they should stop talking about these things and focus on the business they have in hand. This annoys Yoon Sang-tae, but he moves on and asks if anyone else is on the same page. The second-in-command, Kim Gun-woo, says that they should just follow what the boss says. Yoo In-sung also plays along with what Kim Gun-woo said, and it angered Yoon Sang-tae because at that time, even Yoo In-sung had more power than him in the group, and this basically shut off his entire idea. Yoon Sang-tae then calls everyone cowards before storming out of the room. This angers the boss as he cusses out, but Kim Gun-woo calms him down, saying that Yoon has always had sort of a temperament issue, but when you make him understand things properly, he will apologize like a kid. However, that night, there was loud grunts heard outside the boss house. Naturally, Kim Il-woong came to check in what happened, only to find that all his guards have been dropped by a man wearing a hoodie and a few of his men. The man reveals himself to be Yoon Sang-tae, and he says that he has an ambition and he will go against anyone who tries to mess with him. He then uses the metal rod that he had in his hand to hit the boss in the head. This makes Kim Il-woong bleed, but he is not spared, and several other blows to the head sees the end of him. And that's how swiftly Yoon Sang-tae overtook his senior in rank. Unaware of what happened, Kim Gun-woo was also offered a spot to join forces with Yoon Sang-tae, but he refused the offer and ended up going to and joining President Park's Im-name Corporation, which is one of the 17 lower organizations under Jong Pyong-wook, and Do Kyung-gu followed Kim Gun-woo there. After hearing this story, Shiho asks Do Kyung-gu if there's someone above President Yoon, to which he replies by saying that there are people above him. However, Yoon Sang-tae has since massively increased as he has taken over 14 of the 17 lower organizations. Shiho also asks why did Yoon In-sung join Yoon Sang-tae. Do Kyung-gu explains that it happened after the boss passed away. Yoo In-sung was scared of Yoon Sang-tae and worried that whether he will be next in line to get assassinated because he did look down on Yoon a lot. That's why he submitted himself to Yoon Sang-tae. Shiho then asks Do Kyung-gu which are the 3 organizations that never joined up with Yoon Sang-tae's faction. Do Kyung-gu asks why does he wants to know about that. Shiho tells Do Kyung-gu that they need to gather everyone they can on their side and strengthen their side of the affairs. Do Kyung-gu waves this off, saying that there is no sense what Shiho is saying, and he tells him to leave instead of talking nonsense and cracking jokes in a serious manner. Shiho doesn't say anything and just stares down. Do Kyung-gu notices this and asks Shiho when will he leave. However, at that very moment, we see that Sihyen has come to the place. She is disgruntled seeing her brand new phone in tatters. Do Kyung-gu asks her why she is already back at work, but she was too concentrated on her broken phone to answer what he said. Shiho apologizes to her for the breaking of her phone and says that he will try his best to compensate her for it. She asks him if he will really do it. He says he will. However, She is insistent on getting it signed on a document as proof that he will indeed compensate her for her losses. Du Kyung-gu says that this is no time for childish things and that they should be going now. But they don't listen to him and go to the room besides to write the documents, which annoys Du Kyung-gu. On the other hand, we see Yoon Sang-tae on the phone with Yoo In-sung. Yoo In-sung tells him that the people who attacked Kim Tae-chong and his crew ran away and that Du Kyung-gu is willing to personally apologize for what happened. Yoon Sang-tae can't quite understand what's going on, but he is pissed off, so he tells Yoo In-sung to push forward with the plan. Back to the again karaoke bar, we see that Shiho writes on paper that he will compensate Sihyen for her phone and signs on it before giving it to her. She takes, but then she later teasingly fools Shiho into looking somewhere else to poke his cheeks. This makes Shiho blush a bit, and Sihyen tears up the document saying that it has been already compensated and that she was joking anyway to see how he would react to all of this. Right then, Du Kyung-gu comes into the room and tells Shiho to leave because the Saetgangnam are coming in an hour. Shiho asks him what is Saetgangnam, to which he says that it's one of the 14 organizations that is under Yoon and they provide labor. He then says to not pester him with questions, and if Shiho really wants to know, he can search them up. Sihyen asks what it is about and why is Du Kyung-gu asking him to leave. Du Kyung-gu says that he will tell her later and that she should leave too. We see Shiho searching on the internet about Saetgangnam, whereas Sihyen is seen visibly sad as they part ways. Next up, we see that Du Kyung-gu is on a call with Kim Gun-woo. Du Kyung-gu informs Kim Gun-woo about Yi Shiho and all the things that went down. Gun-woo asks him if it's true that he single-handedly took down Kim Tae-chong and his group, to which he says that he heard it so. He then asks Kim Gun-woo if he thinks it is possible for a man alone to take down the huge faction on his own. After all, Yoon Sang-tae and his faction is huge with 14 organizations under him, and if they tried to mess with them it would be a big issue and they'd be trampled. So he wants them to lay low for now and not give Yoon a reason to hit them. Kim Gun-woo says that he wants to take revenge on Yoon Sang-tae for betraying them and assassinating the boss. Du Kyung-gu tells him that it's not the correct time for that because they have a massive disadvantage compared to Yoon and his faction at this point. Gun-woo then says that he wants to meet Shiho and asks Du Kyung-gu to send him over to his place, but Du Kyung-gu tells him that he has told him to go away after he heard that the Saetgangnam were coming to investigate. Gun-woo asks if they have come yet, to which Du Kyung-gu says that it's already past time but they haven't yet. After that, we see what happened 20 minutes before. Yi Shiho goes near the office of the Saetgangnam Job Services and goes inside there. There are a bunch of people there and Shiho just goes there asking for a job. Just then, one of the guys receive a call and after it, he tells Shiho that they're going outside for a meeting and can't take about these things now. Yi Shiho then tells them that he came here after quitting the job at the again karaoke bar because they were going to hand him over to some organization because he defended himself against goons. They quickly realize that he is the one who took out Kim Tae-chong and co. And so one of the guys calls his boss and tells him about the whole situation. However, the boss doesn't buy that story, but he says that they should investigate it anyway. A bit later, the boss hears some noises of a beatdown downstairs, so he stops playing games and goes out to see that his entire office and workers have been wiped out by Shiho with a golf club. He can't believe what he just saw and tries to run away, but Shiho throws the golf club at him, which sends him tumbling down several stairs and getting injured. Shiho then tells the only guy who is somewhat conscious and operating to go and bring the boss over to him, to which the guy obliges. Cut to the scene at the again karaoke bar. We see that Du Kyung-gu is going outside to check if the Saetgangnam people have come or not, but upon coming outside, he notices a horde of people from Yoon Sang-tae's group surrounding the bar waiting for him. Du Kyung-gu says that he didn't expect anyone other than the people from Saetgangnam. However, he quickly gathers himself to see what's up with this whole thing. Then we see Du Kyung-gu, with his hair settled down, looking at all the people who are standing ahead of him as rain is pouring down. He then speaks up and asks if the person is Lee Sang-cheol, referring to one of the people he knew from before. The man in question is standing in the central and is leading the pack of gangsters from the front. He confirms that he is Lee Sang-cheol and says that it is very unfortunate that they have to meet in these circumstances. After all, they were like family back in the days. Du Kyung-gu is serious about this whole thing and he asks Lee Sang-cheol what kind of situation are they in at the moment. Lee Sang-cheol continues speaking with a smirk as he says that Du Kyung-gu must have expected only the President Won Chong-su from the Saetgangnam to have come to this place to meet him. However, as Du Kyung-gu can see clearly, There are tons of people has come to meet him. Du Kyung-gu is still all tensed up, and he says that what is happening at the moment wasn't something that he had expected by any means. Whereas Lee Sang-cheol calls him a naive person and asks if Du Kyung-gu even knows about how the life of a gangster works. Lee Sang-cheol then explains to Du Kyung-gu that they've decided to attack when he is alone and easily push him out of commission. Then that will be the starting step of something huge, as they also want to take down Kim Gun-woo and make things easier for Yoon Sang-tae and make him the undisputed president without any opposers trying to ruin his business. This statement visibly angers Du Kyung-gu. We can see the anger on his face after listening to Lee Sang-cheol. However, he keeps calm and tries to ignore. However, it is getting harder. Lee Sang-cheol smirks again and asks Du Kyung-gu if that was it and if he was done so quickly. As we see rage in his eyes, Du Kyung-gu tries to say something about starting from the beginning, but he is quickly cut off by Lee Sang-cheol, who confidently says that this will be the last day of Du Kyung-gu's life. Cut to another scene, we are back at the building where Sihyen operate and where Shiho went in caused utter havoc to beat everyone to an inch of their lives. We go there and see that the hotel is still stained with the blood of the people who had been attacked by Shiho. There, Shiho is using a towel to wipe away the blood splatters that had gotten in his face. Meanwhile, the manager of Sihyen sits there quietly on his knees, almost as if he is begging to be spared. Shiho then asks the Sihyen manager what had happened and what they are doing as of now. The manager of Sihyen says that it's indeed true that they all had believed that Du Kyung-gu had hired a mercenary to protect their karaoke bar, and that mercenary had caused the issues of the world. And so he, the manager, was ready to assess the situation on his own and go about things. However, seeing someone like Du Kyung-gu stoop down so low, and basically begging for forgiveness is what made them change their mind. Shiho then asks if that caused them to change their mind and go after Du Kyung-gu himself. The manager then reveals to Shiho that about 40 to 50 men, if not more, have went to the again karaoke bar to take care of Du Kyung-gu. Shiho then asks the manager what his role is in this whole scenario, to which the manager says that he is nothing but a minor bait. Shiho then asks the manager why he hadn't decided to go with the rest of the people to go and attack Du Kyung-gu, to which the manager has a hard time replying as he can't explain. After a while, he is able to explain by saying that he was once a family with Du Kyung-gu, and despite him being at a much lower level, Du Kyung-gu would always respect him and support him. So that is why the manager felt uncomfortable with this going down and decided to stay back. This makes Shiho go into thinking mode. The scene then changes back to the again karaoke bar, where we see Du Kyung-gu running back into the building and rushing himself to close the door and then use the additional locks to lock it up. Such is his fear that hurls up a sofa and puts it against the door to create a stable base so that the Sihyen thugs can't get in. Du Kyung-gu curses out from the inside, but the door isn't going to hold up long because we hear a loud sound of something hitting against the door. After a few more bangs on the door finally breaks open and the horde of people from the Sihyen gang dash right into the building, and they are there to cause havoc as all of them are carrying steel rods as weapons. Du Kyung-gu takes a few steps back before getting his feet in and getting into boxing stance to fight with the group on his own. Lee Sang-cheol is amused by this and he asks Du Kyung-gu why is he so adamant about surviving. Du Kyung-gu answers Lee Sang-cheol by saying that he still has a lot of things to do in his life while he is still alive and kicking. Lee Sang-cheol gets annoyed by this and orders his folks to attack him head-on and at full power, while he tells Du Kyung-gu that he will make sure that things don't happen how he wants it to happen. Then we see Shiho running down the street as rain keeps pouring down. He is going at full speed to make sure he makes it in time. On the other hand, we see the manager of Sihyen and his main lackey, both beaten up and battered by Shiho, wondering just what can they do from here on out. The bald lackey asks his manager if they should go or not. The manager replies simply by saying that they have no choice but to go, as they can't afford to get on Yoon Sang-tae's bad side. No one gets on that guy's bad side and lives long enough to tell the story. Then, as the manager is scrolling through his phone, we see a very conflicted and stressed look on him. He doesn't know what to do. He says that people like him, who are in need of the money, can never be a good fit for these jobs. He says that he never intended on betraying his people. However, he is left with no choice but to do so. We then see that he has Kim Gun-woo's contact on his phone, and he is about to call there. Back to the again karaoke bar office, the fight has begun. Punches are being thrown and being thrown hard, as we see a combination of straight punches, uppercuts to the center of the chin and hooks to the side of the face being delivered by Du Kyung-gu to his opponents, and we see that he has managed to take out a good chunk of his attackers on his own using his boxing skills. However, He isn't fully unscathed either, as we see that his cheeks are a bit swollen up. As a lot of opponents are still left, Du Kyong-gu gets back into positions and one of the thugs of Saegongnam rushes in with his weapon to hit him. However, Du Kyong-gu lunges forward a bit to both avoid the attack and generate power to deliver a textbook right to the face to knock him out cold. Another one tries to come in from the side, but he meets the same fate, as Du Kyong-gu shuffles a bit and delivers a wild haymaker like right to knock him down for good. This angers Lee Sang-cheol, who can't believe it that his men, who are equipped with viable weapons, are being beaten down by a singular man, so he gets himself involved. He uses the rod that he had in his hands and hurls it towards Du Kyong-gu. The throw comes at him fast, but Du Kyong-gu uses his excellent dodging abilities to react in time and avoid the blow. However, this makes him slip a bit and lose balance. And this gives the Saegongnam crew the opportunity they were waiting for, as one of them starts it off by swinging his weapon to hit Du Kyong-gu hard on his back and making him fall down. This allows all the other chumps from Saegongnam to join in on the attack, and then they use their weapons to systematically beat up Du Kyong-gu, who lies there helplessly. Du Kyong-gu starts bleeding from the repeated hits to his body and head, and is in immense pain, but this doesn't stop Du Kyong-gu, who has the will to survive, so he powers himself back up and tries to make a run for it, but he is a little too groggy and stumbles down. Lee Sang-cheol then charges in at Du Kyong-gu at full speed before delivering a hard and brutal punt kick to Du Kyong-gu's face, which makes him splatter blood all over the area. This seems to be the end of Du Kyong-gu, as he is in no condition to get back up from that devastating kick, and the beatdown doesn't stop there, as Lee Sang-cheol gears up and then stomps on Du Kyong-gu's face, rubbing it in for further insult. Lee Sang-cheol calls him a piece of crap, and he then asks for an iron rod from one of his lackeys, who quickly hands it over to him. Just when it seems like Lee Sang-cheol is going to deliver the blow to end Du Kyong-gu's life, we see a smartphone being thrown right at Lee Sang-cheol, which hits him plump on the forehead. The phone drops down to the ground, and Du Kyong-gu notices it's the same phone model as the one that he had bought for Shiho. He thinks there's no way that he has came back to save him. Meanwhile, Lee Sang-cheol is mad, as he has started bleeding from his forehead after that phone being thrown at him, and he asks just who had the courage to do that. Right then we see that some of the Saegongnam people are engaged in a fight, but it's short as they are easily blasted off, and to Du Kyong-gu's surprise, Shiho, equipped with an iron rod, has arrived to save him from the hell that was being up on the man. Shiho has arrived and he is ready to whoop some, but then we see a flashback of all the time Shiho has spent with Du Kyong-gu and all the things they have talked about throughout their journey. From first meeting in a lockup, where Shiho had asked Du Kyong-gu why he had been arrested. From there to him asking Du Kyong-gu for a place to live in and food to eat in exchange for him working at the karaoke bar. To when he told him about how the thugs had gone to his mother's funeral and insulted her and made a ruckus in the process, to when Du Kyong-gu had told him not to get involved and try something against Yoon Sang-tae, as he is dangerous. They shared a lot of moments together. However, the moment that hits the hardest is when Shiho had told Du Kyong-gu that he has been on top of the field he was in for a while, so he understands how it looks like from the top, and based on that, Shiho had told Du Kyong-gu that there was no need to run away from Yoon Sang-tae and instead fight them head-on. He had promised Du Kyong-gu that he would single-handedly take them out, and now he is here to keep that promise. We see Shiho grabbing a solid long-handed grip on the iron rod because of the quantity of opponents, and he uses a rigid straightward swing to take out everyone in his path and leave them utterly destroyed with his superior kendo skills. Lee Sang-cheol can't comprehend what is happening in front of him. He is chilled by witnessing the destruction that was being made by Shiho. Even Du Kyong-gu, in his injured and bloody state, was looking at what Shiho was causing with his own two eyes for the first time and was left shocked by it. As we see Shiho still using the very traditional long-handed sword grip technique to land dynamic and fluid swings to hit his opponents in the head, we see Du Kyong-gu acknowledging Shiho to be a guy in a league of his own. To the outside portion of the again karaoke bar, we see that the rain is still pouring down heavily, and we notice someone who has come to visit the bar. As we follow the footsteps of the man, we see a huge group of people in suits have arrived to the scene with umbrellas. Soon we realize that it is none other Kim Gun-woo. Kim Gun-woo has arrived, and he enters the bar only to see the hallway as a wasteland for bodies of people and their blood splattered all across the room. He wonders what exactly went down in the karaoke bar for it to be this way now. The scene then changes to the office room of the CEO of K Entertainment, Yoon Sang-tae. Yoon Sang-tae feels his phone vibrating, and he checks it. It is a call from Kim Gun-woo of all people. We see a pissed-off director Yoon Sang-tae pick up the call and talk with Kim Gun-woo. He asks him why he had called him after what felt like ages and why is he feeling the need to enter his area all of a sudden. He says that his R is in front of the Again karaoke bar and that's why he has entered the place. He also informs Yoon Sang-tae that his people are all over the building for some reason and asks what should be done with those guys. Yoon Sang-tae is confused and asks Kim Gun-woo what he meant. Kim Gun-woo smirks and says that he will let Yoon Sang-tae's cronies live on their lives. However, the Again karaoke bar's furniture and assets were heavily damaged from the fight and asks Yoon Sang-tae to get ready and compensate for all of that. Yoon Sang-tae has an evil smile on his face while he asks Kim Gun-woo if he had eaten something weird for breakfast because he has been saying some absurd things. Kim Gun-woo also laughs it off, but he quickly gets back in mood and starts speaking seriously. Kim Gun-woo tells Yoon Sang-tae that it is indeed none of his own business to get involved in this situation. However, he reminds Yoon Sang-tae off back when he had assassinated the boss Kim Il-woong. Kim Gun-woo says that he had run away from that scene and went over to the Irium distribution and took refuge there. And since then he has gone on to becoming a top player at the organization and has become the leader of 5 different sub-organizations. Kim Gun-woo further threatens Yoon Sang-tae by telling him the Irium distribution isn't on Yoon Sang-tae's side. They're not scared of fighting him and his cronies and suggest that if he really wants to fight Kim Gun-woo then they can just go for an all-out war. However, if that is the case, then Yoon Sang-tae should be prepared for severe consequences and remodeling costs. Saying this, Kim Gun-woo hangs up the call and right then, one of his subordinates asks him what should they do with Lee Sang-cheol. He is down and out, so should they just go ahead and cut off his Achilles tendon to make him incapable of moving around? Kim Gun-woo smirks and walks downstairs as he tells his subordinate to just let Lee Sang-cheol off without anything serious, which shocks the subordinate. Kim Gun-woo then explains himself by saying that someone like Lee Sang-cheol doesn't really possess a huge threat to them in the long run. He then goes downstairs and stomps on Lee Sang-cheol's face and says that incapacitating someone like Lee Sang-cheol will only make the Irium distribution come off as weak to Yoon Sang-tae, to which the subordinate agrees this time. Meanwhile, in his office, Yoon Sang-tae is wrecking everything in pure rage. He throws away his chair, flips over his table, and then breaks it. He is filled with anger. Yoon Sang-tae tries to think everything through. He did put Do Kyung-gu in the detention center. However, that didn't do anything and the Again karaoke bar was operating as normal. Seeing this, he sent over Kim Tae-chong with his crew, but they were badly beaten up. This made Yoon Sang-tae think that they were going to attack him next. However, Do Kyung-gu came off as apologetic and behaved like a pushover. However, now that he sends his men after them to take them out, they also get beaten up badly and Kim Gun-woo appears out of nowhere. He can't really understand how stuff is going down like this, so he wonders if Kim Gun-woo was really that far ahead in his planning or if there is a traitor in his group who sold out. Meanwhile, at a restaurant, we see Kim Gun-woo and Shiho sitting down to have an important first conversation. Kim Gun-woo has a glass of alcohol in his hands, and as he mixes it, he talks to Shiho. He asks him if he was the so-called new manager of the Again karaoke bar, and if so, wasn't he told to go away by Do Kyung-gu? Then why is he here? Shiho sincerely replies back to Kim Gun-woo by saying that he had nowhere else he could go to and stay. That's why he came back to the place, as he had nowhere else to go. This makes Kim Gun-woo interested, and he looks at Shiho and asks him if he really took out all those people by himself, without anyone's help. Shiho is very straightforward in his approach to talking, so he tells Kim Gun-woo that he didn't in fact beat up all of them because half of the guys from Saegangnam had run away after his beatdown took full swing. Kim Gun-woo closely monitors everything about Shiho as he takes a shot of alcohol before putting it down on the table and asking Shiho about his grud with Yoon Sang-tae. He asks Shiho if he heard right when he heard that Shiho's family passed away because of the direct influence of Yoon Sang-tae and his various subordinates. Kim Gun-woo then stands up from his seat and walks over to Shiho and tells him that he also has a very huge grudge against Yoon Sang-tae, before putting his hand forward for a handshake. Kim Gun-woo then puts down an offer for Shiho. He suggests that why don't the both of them combine their grudges against Yoon Sang-tae and then work together in catching him. After a short while of thinking, Shiho makes his decisions and shakes the hand of Kim Gun-woo. A new alliance is born in front of our eyes. Meanwhile, at the K Entertainment office building, we see Yoon Sang-tae, the CEO, sitting with a baseball bat above his shoulder. Soon, His assistant lets him know that the CEO of the Sihyen has arrived to meet him. Won Chang-soo is nervous, but he comes inside anyway, and Yoon Sang-tae tells him to sit down. Won Chang-soo tries to maintain distance from the dangerous Yoon Sang-tae by sitting on one of the chairs that is the furthest away, but Yoon Sang-tae sees through this and orders him to come closer and sit, as he is the only one in the room now, and with no other option. Won Chang-soo reluctantly has to do as ordered. Won Chang-soo sits down nervously with his head down when Yoon Sang-tae starts talking. Yoon Sang-tae says that he will keep it straightforward with him and asks Won Chang-soo that among the 4 groups that he had sent to attack the Again karaoke bar, Sihyen was the only one that held out until the very end and didn't do there. Why so? Won Chang-soo's stress levels could be seen from his body language, but he manages to answer the question. Won Chang-soo says that they couldn't go earlier because a random person had invaded the office and caused a huge scene by breaking furnitures and all. That is what caused the disruption, because they had to take care of that and clean up the mess he made, and thus they were late to the scene. Yoon Sang-tae asks if that is how it went down. Still nervous, Won Chang-soo says that it is exactly how it went, and when they arrived to the Again bar, he saw that Kim Gun-woo and his gang had already arrived to the scene. All the groups that went to the Again karaoke bar before them were beaten up to a pulp by Kim Gun-woo and his crew, and that's why they thought that they would stand no chance against those guys and instead decided to return safely. Yoon Sang-tae listens to this and stares a hole through Won Chang-soo, making Won Chang-soo even more uncomfortable than he was before, making him a sweaty mess. Yoon Sang-tae puts his head down and calls out Won Chang-soo by name, which startles the already scared man, and he responds over enthusiastically. Yoon Sang-tae then asks Won Chang-soo how old he is, to which Won Chang-soo says that he is 45 years old. Yoon Sang-tae, still with his head down, says that he can't bring himself to talk to someone in a disrespectful manner who is so much older than him. He asks Won Chang-soo if he is 10 years older than director Yoo In-sung, to which Won Chang-soo said that it's not true. However, things go from bad to worse for Won Chang-soo as Yoon Sang-tae gets up from his seat and walks near him with a baseball bat in his hands. He asks if that is true before coming to the meat and potato of the whole conversation. Yoon Sang-tae holds his baseball bat against the head of Won Chang-soo and asks him if he sold himself out to Kim Gun-woo. The question, alongside the baseball bat against his head, really scares the life out of Won Chang-soo, who can't bring himself to reply in this situation. Yoon Sang-tae is raged up though. He threatens Won Chang-soo by giving him the choice of either listening to whatever Yoon Sang-tae has to say or his life will be ended right then and there. Scared and with no option, Won Chang-soo quickly agrees to doing whatever that Yoon Sang-tae has to say. Cut to a different building. We see Kim Gun-woo and Shiho go and knock on a door, where a random person opens up the door. Kim Gun-woo goes inside and tells Shiho that they need to come to these obscure hospitals because if they went to public ones, they'd be reported by them to the police. Inside the room, we see Do Kyung-gu lying on a bed, bandaged up and taking treatment. Do Kyung-gu notices that Kim Gun-woo has come to see him and he immediately sits up to greet him, but Kim Gun-woo assures him that it is fine and he should lie down and rest. The doctor treating Do Kyung-gu leaves the room, while Do Kyung-gu asks Kim Gun-woo what had happened for him to come to the scene. Kim Gun-woo informs Do Kyung-gu that CEO of Sihyen Won Chang-soo had informed him about what happened and so he came. Do Kyung-gu is a bit surprised to know that Won Chang-soo of all people contacted Kim Gun-woo. Kim Gun-woo explained to Do Kyung-gu that even though Won Chang-soo was on Yoon Sang-tae's side, he still had a sense of attachment towards them because after all, they were family at one point of time. That's why he intended not to get involved and instead let Lee Sang-cheol finish off the proceedings on his own, so later he can join and not get his hands dirty. Do Kyung-gu is shocked after knowing this and he tells Kim Gun-woo that it would probably be better if they went ahead and took Won Chang-soo to their side. Kim Gun-woo says that it is the exact plan he has in mind because as things stand now, Won Chang-soo is probably in deep hot water with Yoon Sang-tae and the rest of his sub-organizations. Shiho listened to this conversation taking place without intervening, but he has a concerned look on his face. Back to the other side of the story, we see that a terrified and mentally broken down Won Chang-soo runs out of the K Entertainment office building like his life depends on him making it out of there. The local bystanders look at him and get weirded out seeing how tired, sweaty, and stressed he is looking. After getting out, he is at a loss of breath from running away so fast and from all the things that have transpired inside that building with Yoon Sang-tae and him. We get a peek into what had happened inside Yoon Sang-tae's room inside the K Entertainment office building. Yoon Sang-tae tells Won Chong-soo that Kim Gun-woo will definitely trust Won Chong-soo. So, Yoon Sang-tae wants Won Chong-soo to set up a meeting between him and Kim Gun-woo at Namiangju, where Won Chong-soo will tell Kim Gun-woo that he wants to switch sides and join the Irium distribution. Yoon Sang-tae says all this with a sinister look on his face, while he has a baseball bat against Won Chong-soo's head. Won Chong-soo is overwhelmed by all the details being fed to him and asks what does Yoon Sang-tae mean, which pisses off the wild animal of a man, and he uses the baseball bat on his to smash the desk in front Won Chong-soo with a single swing, also deforming the bat from sheer impact. This obviously puts Won Chong-soo in a deep state of fear and shock, something that he has never felt on this level before. Yoon Sang-tae, with a demonic look and aura, then goes ahead and tells Won Chong-soo that he wants to use him as a bait to fool Kim Gun-woo into a trap and get rid of him forever, and asks Won Chong-soo if he got it now. Won Chong-soo, literally trembling from fear of the monster that is Yoon Sang-tae, says that understands the plan now. As Yoon Sang-tae looks at the deformed metal baseball bat, he tells Won Chong-soo to get out and contact Kim Gun-woo. He wants Won Chong-soo to tell Kim Gun-woo that he is in fear that Yoon Sang-tae has suspicious of his activities and feels that he is in danger, so he wants to defect to Irium distribution side. Yoon Sang-tae then looks at Won Chong-soo and tells him that if he even thinks of trying something other than what he ordered him to do, this is what will happen. As he swings the baseball bat at him, barely scraping a bit of Won Chong-soo's face, giving him a gash on the cheek and blood flowing out. Back to the normal time, Won Chong-soo is seen panting, even thinking about the things that happened, and he says that in order to survive and live on, he has to do it. We then see him dialing up a number, and later we see that Kim Gun-woo has gotten a call from Won Chong-soo. Kim Gun-woo sees the call and jokingly says that he wonders if Won Chong-soo somehow heard them talking about him. He picks up the call and hears Won Chong-soo says that he wants to switch sides and join Kim Gun-woo's crew instead. Kim Gun-woo grins a little as he says that he is welcomed and that he was planning to bring him over to his side anyway. So now, Won Chong-soo is joining Kim Gun-woo's side to mislead them into a trap set up by Yoon Sang-tae to finish Kim Gun-woo off for good. We then see Gun-woo talking to Chong-soo about what is going down. Gun-woo tells Chong-soo that he is just a member of the Irium distribution, whereas the leader is still Director Park, so the respect in this case should be given Director Park, to which Chong-soo agrees to do. We then see CEO Yoon sitting down on a chair, before he decides to pick up his phone and dial up the number of Director Park of the Irium distribution to have a discussion with. CEO Yoon calls Director Park and then apologizes to him, saying that he is sorry for what he and his people did to the Again karaoke bar and says that he is willing to pay the price for doing such a thing. Director Park is a bit surprised as he says that he would have never guessed that, in his lifetime, he would ever hear an apology from someone as prideful as Yoon. Yoon then tells Director Park that he is willing to pay about 100 million Korean won to compensate for what his people had done. Director Park, however, jokes this off, saying that 100 million is nothing and that he wants at least 300 million Korean won to accept the apology given by CEO Yoon. Yoon says that 300 million is a little too much, however, Director Park calmly threatens him by saying that if he is not willing to pay 300 million in cash, Park can definitely send him a legal notice and make sure that he pays about 500 million Korean won in bonds. Yoon listens to this and accepts to pay 300 million in cash right away. Director Park then tells CEO Yoon that he will be telling him the location and time for when this deal would be made and asks him when he will be able to get this 300 million ready, to which Director Yoon says that he will be able to get it ready in 3 days in the evening. And so they decide to make this thing official in 3 days' time at 7 p.m. We then see CEO Yoon hanging up the call and then calling Chong-soo to inform him to tell Gun-woo and his people that they can meet up in 3 days' time at 7 p.m. and Chong-soo agrees to do so. The scene then changes to the Again karaoke bar, where we see that everything is being rearranged and redecorated under the watchful eyes of the manager, Shiho. There we also see that Sihyen is around and Sihyen asks Shiho where Do-kyung is, to which Shiho says that Do-kyung is out injured and that he has been put in charge of the karaoke bar until he is back up and running. Sihyen says that she wants her compensation for the loss of her phone from Shiho, to which Shiho gets embarrassed. Sihyen thinks that he looks cute while embarrassed and asks for compensation again. Shiho tells her that he doesn't have the money to compensate for her phone now, to which Sihyen says that she doesn't need any money, and that all she wants as compensation is a date with Shiho. Surprisingly enough, this makes Shiho blush a little, contrary to his usual iron solid determination and stoic expression. Later, at night, we see that a conversation is taking place between Kim Gun-woo and Director Park. Park asks Gun-woo if it's really a good idea to allow Chong-soo into their team, to which Gun-woo replies by saying that they were once a part of the same team, so it shouldn't be an issue. Gun-woo further goes on to say that Yoon Sang-tae must have some business to attend to on the 7th, so that's the day they fixed to meet with Chong-soo and get him in to Irium distribution side. However, the location for the meeting is a bit far away, being in Namiangju. Director Park says that he is the one Yoon Sang-tae has business with on the 7th. Gun-woo is a bit taken aback by this and asks Director Park if it would be okay for him to meet Yoon, considering his reputation. Director Park says that he agreed to it because Yoon promised to show up in person. Gun-woo says that they can't be trusting the man, as he is what you would call a snake, because of how much venom he has and his backbiting habit. So, Gun-woo says that they need to split their squad accordingly to send people on both sides. Park says that Gun-woo has the harder job, so he needs more people on his side, whereas the director is only going for a meet, so it won't take much besides his own squad of bodyguards of Sun Min-hyuk and Sun Jin-sik. Gun-woo listens to this and says that he has another guy that he wants to send with them to assure safety. That guy being a friend of his who is much more skilled than even him. The director asks about who he is referring to, and Gun-woo says that the friend of his has a big personal grudge with CEO Yoon and that his family's lives were lost due to Yoon. The director says that the person must be really devastated because of what happened then. Gun-woo continues saying that his friend is only living because he is still somehow left alive and not because he wants to. He says that the person lives in tremendous agony and wants to take his revenge against the one who caused it to begin with. Director asks that if the person that he is sending ends up losing his life due to some circumstances while going with them, wouldn't it be a problem? Gun-woo says that he has no life, nothing to lose, nothing to protect, so even if he were to lose his life, it would just be fate. Meanwhile, we see that Sihyen has taken Shiho to a Mo-maid cafe. In there, one of the maids does a cute dance in front of them and tells them to enjoy their food. And as is tradition, you reply Tothem by repeating the dance, and Sihyen forcibly makes Shiho do it. And Shiho does it with his head down and in incredible embarrassment. We then see that Sihyen is feeding Shiho with her hands, and this makes Shiho blush once again, and this time, he even has a slight smile on his face. Later in the night, we see that Sihyen and Shiho are walking through the lively streets of Seoul. Sihyen looks in high spirits, whereas Shiho is back to his usual stoic self as he is talking on the phone with Kim Gun-woo. Shiho says that he is ready to be there in 3 days' time to help out the Irium distribution and Director Park with the deal that they're gonna do with Yoon Sang-tae and his men. After Shiho hangs up the call, Sihyen calls out to him and asks him if he will come to hang out with her tomorrow as well. Shiho is a bit on the fence about meeting tomorrow, but Sihyen says that she heard that he has about 3 more days until he needs to get to work. So for those 3 remaining days, she wants Shiho to hang out with her the whole time. This behavior from Sihyen reminds Shiho of his deceased younger sister, Sihyen. He recalls his memories of how Sihyen would also call her Appa and would come and hug him when they saw each other after school. She would cling on to him all the time and would want to hang out and play with him all the time as well, and he would take care of her and pat her head. Shiho then comes back to his senses and tells Sihyen that she has chosen the wrong person for herself. Sihyen doesn't quite understand what Shiho meant with what he said, so she asks Shiho what exactly he said to her. Shiho, however, doesn't answer this question and stands firm. Sihyen keeps persisting him to tell her just what is wrong with this thing, and after a while, Shiho grabs Sihyen's arm and takes her to a park where the setting is calm and where they can maintain privacy. Upon going there, Shiho admits to Sihyen that he had indeed taken the life of someone with his own hands. After hearing this, Sihyen is a bit shocked about it. Shiho then continues on saying how he took the life of a man who had said very disrespectful and offensive things about his deceased mother on his funeral. He also says that the man was directly connected to the passing away of both his mother and his little sister. Shiho further goes on to say that his only life mission now is to go and find out the main perpetrator behind his sister's passing away and take revenge on that person for ruining his life forever. He will then hand himself over to the law enforcement once he is done taking his revenge. As Shiho stops, Sihyen starts talking and she tells Shiho that he did a great job by taking the life of that guy, as he was in the wrong. Sihyen goes on to say that people like those don't even deserve to live, so whatever Shiho did was right and she doesn't see him in a bad light for that. However, she asks Shiho if he trusts her because he just told her this important thing about him, and if she reports this to the police, he will be in trouble. Shiho says that he gets an honest and positive vibes from her. He goes on to say that she is capable to openly show and express her emotions, that she wears her heart on her sleeves. Something that he can't do because he is incapable of that and he hides his emotions. Sihyen says that to summarize everything Shiho told her, she understands that he wants her to not fall for him because he has no future and that he will rot in jail soon. Shiho apologizes to her for making her get the wrong idea about him, but Sihyen doesn't have it and tells Shiho that she thought that he was the one who liked her and asks him the question if he hates her or not. Shiho says that he doesn't hate her, but it's not like that. But as he is about to say more, Sihyen puts her finger to his mouth and shushes him, saying that he doesn't need to say anything. Sihyen says just the fact that Shiho doesn't hate her is enough for her and that she is more than happy with that. As for the future possibilities, she isn't much of a thinker, so she will think about those things later. Shiho tries to speak up and talk about his imminent future, but Sihyen tells him that the future is in the future and that now is the present and that they should focus on what they have, not on what will happen in the future. She says that she is like this is her, she is dumb and she can't think about the future. If there is someone she likes and they're in front of her, that's the only thing she cares about and she wants to enjoy that present. Shiho knows that this is not a time to fall for anyone as he knows what the result of that will be. Sihyen then goes on and says that she is a specialist in unrequited love, but she doesn't care. She knows that she will cry eventually when her heart breaks and that it will hurt. So for now, when everything is okay, she doesn't want to think about that and just like Shiho for what he is and requests Shiho to not push her away. Saying this, Sihyen gets closer to Shiho and leans on his shoulders, and eventually, Shiho also puts his hand on her head to caress it, which makes Sihyen smile a little. 3 days later, we see a huge group of people, wearing suits and grabbing a metal stick on their hand, stand firm as the director of the Irium distribution. Mr. Park walks in alongside his two personal bodyguards, Sun Min-hyuk and Sun Jin-sik, with him. Among those in the team of people chosen to go with Director Park includes Shiho as well, who stands there isolated. One of the director's personal bodyguards spots Shiho and walks up to him and asks a question saying who that little brat is. The director, Park, sits down and tells his bodyguard that Shiho is a friend of Kim Gun-woo, and that Gun-woo himself sent him to be a help to the director. The director also says that CEO Yoon Sang-tae said that he won't pay a dime to them. The bodyguard is still skeptical of Shiho as he says that Gun-woo is probably trying to show off by sending just one guy and saying that the guy will be of help. The bodyguard also tells Director Park that taking Shiho along with them will be a risk, as there is always the possibility of something going wrong, and if that happens, there will be talks about the director taking an unknown entity with them to a dangerous place and cost him his life for nothing. He then tells Shiho to get out and leave their place as it's not fitted for him. However, Shiho is unbothered by all this and he stands normally as if nothing was said to him. The bodyguard notices this and asks Shiho if he can't hear, and again tells him that he will be of no help and be a liability to them, so he must leave. That is when the other bodyguard speaks up and tells his partner to not talk so rudely and openly. The other bodyguard then walks up to Shiho and tells him that they'll be having a very brutal and dangerous fight with Yoon Sang-tae and his many people. It might result in an all-out bloodbath. They will try and make sure to capture and beat up Yoon Sang-tae and all of his people right here. However, some might find an opportunity and take advantage of it by running away to make an escape on the other direction. And so he tells Shiho to go to the other direction and wait outside to capture and beat up all the guys who managed to escape. Shiho says that he understands and agrees to do as he was told to. As Shiho walks away from them, the Min-hyuk and Jin-sik have a laugh about this and call Shiho weak and say that they'll be taking care of everyone by themselves and that they won't leave a single person for Shiho to take and make him seem useless. Later onwards, we see that the director, Park, is sitting on a chair while he is surrounded by tons of his bodyguards and fighters from all sides, and Sun Jin-sik and Sun Min-hyuk standing right beside him. Director Park is a bit restless and wonders how CEO Yoon hadn't shown up yet. Min-hyuk adds to this by saying that it is possible that the CEO got scared and decided to not come after all. This makes everyone break into a laughter. Just at that moment, we see that a luxury car has arrived to the site of the meeting, and Min-hyuk says that maybe he didn't get scared as he has arrived after all. As the car stops, it still uses the headlight to flash out everyone's vision and also uses a loud horn to annoy. Out comes Yoon Sang-tae from the car, and upon coming out, he walks up and says that he kept his word and arrived all alone. However, there are tons of people here with the director, so what's the big deal with it? Director Park laughs a little and says that it's just for safety in case something went wrong between them, and apologizes for being suspicious of Yoon. Seo Yoon then smirks and says that upon arriving here through the parking lot, he noticed that there was no one in the basement. It was completely empty. However, as they moved on, they saw that the second level of the basement had tons of people hiding to ambush them. Just then, we see that Yoon hasn't come alone, and that he has brought along a lot of his lackeys with him. The CEO then continues on and says that he took care of all those people that were hiding on the second level of the basement, as we see the blood on his hands. This totally bamboozles the director, who quickly drops the chair he was sitting on and gets up in a mixture of fear and shock. The CEO, Yoon, then continues in his sinister tone, saying that there is no need for the director to apologize to him now, as he will only go back with the director's head on a platter. This angers Director Park and makes him cuss out. Min Hyuk then rallies up his people and tells them to attack their opponents, and so starts the fight between Director Park and his people from the Irium distribution and CEO Yoon and his lackeys, as we see the teams go into battle against each other head-on with their weapons in their grasp. Meanwhile, at Namiangju, we see that Kim Gun-woo has arrived to the scene of his meeting with Won Chong-su as he parks his vehicle. Then we see Chong-su come and enter the vehicle and sit down beside Gun-woo. Gun-woo's mind is very much in what's happening with Director Park and his people though, as he tells Chong-su that he only came here because it was said that it had to be him. However, he needs to hurry up as he can't leave the director on his own. Chong-su is very apologetic for this, as he tells Kim Gun-woo that he is sorry to call him here. However, this was his only chance to strike up something with Gun-woo and the Irium distribution, as Yoon Sang-tae is busy with his own commitments. Kim Gun-woo says that it is fine and that he understands. Gun-woo then asks Chong-su about his family, saying what is up with them. Chong-su replies by saying that he is alone for the moment. The wheel on the vehicle then starts moving as they drive to their destination. However, Gun-woo can't help but be a bit suspicious of everything that is going down. He checks to see if anyone's behind them, and he also looks at Won Chong-su with a lot of suspicion. On the other hand, the huge fight between Irium Distribution and CEO Yoon and his team continues. It's an all-out ugly brawl with no one sparing anyone and just going all out against each other for their leaders. However, it seems like Sun Min Hyuk has a lead over everyone else when it is seen that he knocks out a tough guy from Yoon's side with a devastating punch. CEO Yoon sees this and decides that he has had enough and says that he will now step up by himself to take on Min Hyuk. And so, he dashes forward and calls out Sun Min Hyuk, who wasn't even looking at him and dealing with the several other problems. Upon turning, Min Hyuk is met with an otherworldly overhand right punch that connects perfectly and knocks him down. This leaves Min Hyuk with a broken nose and a lot of blood pouring out from it. This angers Min Hyuk though, so he quickly gets back up and runs towards Seo Yoon to take revenge. Min Hyuk loads up a right hand and swings it to hit Yoon. However, the CEO, at the very last moment, countered the oncoming punch from Min Hyuk with a left straight punch of himself, which leads to a fist-on-fist connection between the two. As a result of the coming together of the fists, Min Hyuk's fists crumbles under the pressure of Yoon's strength and it destroys his knuckles. Even just the simple impact of the coming together breaks Min Hyuk's fingers badly. As Min Hyuk quivers in pain, he is met by Seo Yoon with a proper underhook clinch, and he uses that to leverage Sun Min Hyuk into a bone-rattling Northern Light suplex and drops him on his head. This shocks everyone as they can't believe what had just happened in front of their very own eyes. Seo Yoon then tells everyone to clear his path as he wants to do something by himself. He tells everyone to follow his lead. Everyone then clears up and Yoon dashes forward once again, but this time, against the Golden Goose himself in Director Park. Park is once again scared and shocked by what is going down against him. As CEO Yoon is about to catch up, Director Park makes a run for it and puts Sun Jin-sik in harm's way and tells him to stop CEO Yoon. However, this is of no use, as just when Jin-sik is about to get ready to take on Yoon, Yoo In-sung intervenes and pulls away Jin-sik at the very final moment to help keep CEO Yoon's momentum alive, as he dashes past Jin-sik, then slides down on the ground to deliver a very hard kick to the director's calf and leg. This is enough opportunity for CEO Yoon to take control in the fight. Seo Yoon grabs the throat of the director as he sits on top of him. Yoon then tells Director Park to put a stamp on the documents to hand over Seo Yoon all the strings that he has. Consumed by extreme fear for himself and his life, the director, Mr. Park, admits to stamp on every that is thrown out at him. Seo Yoon notices that Mr. Park is doing this because his back is against the wall. Because he is scared, Seo Yoon mocks the director for this before informing him that he doesn't need the director to be alive to get finger stamps, and says that he can just take his life and then cut off his fingers to use it for the stamping documents, and does a sinister smile to follow this all up. Seo Yoon then starts to increase the pressure of the chokehold he has on the director's neck. Seo Yoon then gets ready and pushes the director's head down to the floor even harder. This makes the director plead for Yoon to not do what he is about to do, but Seo Yoon isn't someone to listen to others, and so he applies more pressure to hold the director down before using the hand that he was choking with to hold a proper grab of the director's throat and literally pull out the insides of his throat using sheer raw strength. And now Yoon Sang-tae stands tall. We then see that the director, Mr. Park, is laid out flat with the blood from his throat spreading all over the ground. Yoon Sang-tae stands over him, victorious as he completed his objective to take the director's life. Yoon then looks at the organ from inside Director Park's throat, which he has in his hand, before throwing it away in total disgust and disregard. Meanwhile, everyone fighting from the Irium distribution side are dumbfounded, as they don't know how to interpret what just happened in front of them and wonder if everything was over as they knew it and what will happen to them. Seo Yoon notices this and announces that he will let everyone who agrees to join his side and work for him to live, while he orders the rest, who won't join him, to be finished off right then and there. Then, Seo Yoon calls out to the manager, Yoo In-sung, and tells him that he should go ahead and cut off a thumb from Director Park and bring it to him, as they need to put the stamp of it on official papers and get them to Young Pyung-wook's place as soon as possible. To which manager Yoo agrees to do right away. Seo Yoon then asks his lackeys that who is in charge after manager Yoo. Hwang Jin-hak then quickly steps forward to inform the CEO, Yoon Sang-tae, that it is him who is second in line after manager Yoo In-sung. Seo Yoon then tells Hwang Jin-hak to finish the rest of the proceedings as the leader going forward, to which Jin-hak says that he will do so. Seo Yoon then enters his car and sees the pile of documents that he is ready, that needs Director Park's thumb stamp to get through with, and so he looks outside the window of the car and sees manager Yoo using a knife to cut off a thumb from Director Park's lifeless body as blood splashes out. Manager Yoo then uses a handkerchief to cover the bloody thumb and quickly take it and give it to Seo Yoon, who uses the thumb to then start stamping it on various important documents for his own benefits. Seo Yoon then asks manager Yoo if he will drive, to which manager Yoo says that he will and quickly drives away from the scenario. Hwang Jin-hak sees them go away and takes charge from there on. Jin-hak then tells everyone that if they drop all their weapons and kneel down in front of him, he won't hurt or take the life of anyone. This quickly makes just about everyone drop their lead pipes and kneel down to get forgiveness from Jin-hak. However, amongst the huge herd of people who have knelt down and apologized, there stands one man who hasn't apologized yet, that man being Sun Jin-sik. Jin-hak wonders who he is and smirks as he orders his people to take his life. However, to their utter surprise, instead of staying there and fighting valiantly, Jin-sik makes a run for it and tries to escape. He goes for the exit door and Jin-hak notices this and tells his men to go and capture him. On the other hand, back to Kim Gun-woo and Won Chong-soo riding a car in Namiangju, we see that they are riding the car through a rough road. While they're going, Gun-woo notices something strange, and then we see that their car has been intercepted by many other cars coming from the front. Gun-woo then gets out of his vehicle with a mean look on his face, and we see that the people who stopped Gun-woo and Chong-soo were people from Seo Yoon's squad, just as they had planned beforehand. The leader of the squad then starts taunting Kim Gun-woo, saying that he came here to set the funeral date for Gun-woo, and that this will be his final day. He also goes on to say that Gun-woo isn't skilled enough to survive an attack by them. The leader of the squad is Baek Sang-hwa, one of the most skilled guys in Seo Yoon's disposal. Kim Gun-woo then turns around to see the look of despair and regret on Chong-soo's face and understands what really went down. Gun-woo then says that he understands that Chairman Won Chong-soo probably didn't have a say in this, and he was probably forced into tricking Gun-woo against his will. As there is nothing to do about that, Gun-woo gets in position and gets into his fighting stance, as he readies himself to take on the people who came to finish him off once and for all. Meanwhile, back to the other side, we see that Jin-sik has made it out, and as he goes up, He asks Shiho, who is just casually standing there, to open the back exit door as quickly as possible. However, Shiho stands there unbothered. As he pleads Shiho to open the door, a lead pipe is thrown at him, and it ends up hitting the mark as well, and Jin-sik goes down from it. As Jin-sik is momentarily stunned by the blow, the rest of CEO Yoon's men notice that Jin-sik is down and out and come after him. Jin-sik then goes into full-out depression as he ends up cussing and saying that never could he have imagined that his life would come to such an abrupt and worthless end. Meanwhile, we see Shiho coming down the stairs. Shiho then comes forward and grabs the pipe that hit Jin-sik as Jin-sik realizes that it was Shiho he was talking to. Jin-sik asks Shiho just what is he even doing, to which Shiho says that he was just following the orders as was told to him by them. We then see a flashback of how Sun Min-hyuk told Shiho to go wait outside as they're going to capture CEO Yoon and all his men inside. However, if someone does manage to escape their grasp, it will be up to Shiho to take care of them. And so Shiho was just doing what Min-hyuk and Jin-sik had told him to do, even though it was obvious that those two did it so that Shiho's reputation gets damaged and theirs get bigger. However, Shiho isn't the kind of person who focuses on such little things, and so, as was told to him, he shall take care. The story continues from the forests of Namiangju, where a fight is going on between Kim Gun-woo and people sent over by Yoon Sang-tae. Despite having a big advantage in numbers and also having weapons on them, Yoon Sang-tae's men are falling prey to the extraordinary stand-up striking capabilities of Kim Gun-woo. We see Gun-woo dropping one of the guys who rushed in to attack him with a simple pivoting right cross to the jaw. It knocks the guy out, and to follow that up, Gun-woo hits the next guy with an overhand hook of sorts to knock that guy out as well. Two other guys get ready to take on Kim Gun-woo with their lead pipes in hand. However, Baek Sang-hwa realizes that these guys are simply not on the same level as Gun-woo and tells them both to step aside and steps forward himself to take on Gun-woo. Sang-hwa tells Gun-woo that they shouldn't spin it around much and just settle things between themselves, one-on-one, man-to-man. Sang-hwa then gets into position with his knife. Gun-woo rhetorically asks the question if it can be considered a one-on-one fight if there's a knife involved from one side to Sang-hwa, to which he replies by saying that if Gun-woo feels so off-putted by the knife he has, then he should simply pick one up for himself. Gun-woo doesn't bother doing any of that, as he takes off his suit and gets ready to fight by taking a boxing stance. And thus the fight is on, and we see the first charge being made from Sang-hwa, who runs in at full speed with his knife to attack Gun-woo. However, Kim Gun-woo is no spring chicken. He understands what he has to do to swing the pendulum to his side, and so he picks up the suit which he had put on his vehicle's front lead and throws it on to Baek Sang-hwa's face to cause him to lose track and get blinded. Sang-hwa then quickly throws aside the suit from his face in anger, but upon getting his vision back, he sees a wild and super quick swing of the fist from Gun-woo, which he somehow managed to dodge by the merest of margins. This baffles Gun-woo because he sure didn't expect Sang-hwa to dodge such a point-blank range punch after getting his vision closed off for a while. Sang-hwa smirks as he gets to outdo Gun-woo with his agility and reaction time. This is also used as an opening of sorts from Sang-hwa, who then tries to stab out Kim Gun-woo's face with rapid quick knife strikes. However, Gun-woo is a master at the fighting game himself, so he dodges the knife strikes with his constant bobbing and moving. The tables now turn, as Baek Sang-hwa is now the shocked one as Gun-woo rejoices his usage of skills with a smirk. However, the constant attacks don't stop from Sang-hwa, and it requires very intricate footwork to avoid getting hit, and Gun-woo was doing those complex foot movements. However, the terrain simply wasn't made for such movements, and so Gun-woo trips up and falls down flat on his butt. Sang-hwa notices this mishap from Gun-woo and orders his squad to surround him from all corners. Gun-woo tries to scoot away, however, he meets a dead end with his back and has nowhere to go. And this is when Sang-hwa takes his knife and jumps towards Gun-woo to latch onto him. Back to the site of the fight between Yoon Sang-tae's squad and Irium Distribution, where everyone from CEO Yoon's squad is shocked as to why someone would take stance against such a large group by himself and makes fun of Shiho's uptight kendo stance. Sun Jin-sik tells Shiho that he should run for his life instead of being a dumb dude who gets beat up trying to fight an unwinnable battle. However, Shiho is determined on taking out all the people in his way. Jin-wak orders one of his group men to go forward and fight Shiho. The guy makes fun of Shiho and calls him a piece of crap. He even says that Shiho must have fainted while standing as he isn't moving. Upon reaching there, the goon tries to swing his pipe to hit Shiho on the head. However, Shiho is a once-in-a-lifetime prodigy of kendo, so this is very much kiddie games to him, so he swiftly counters the oncoming strike from the guy with a straight medium-handed swing of the pipe, which hits his opponent's pipe and sends it flying back, disarming his opponent in the process. Now, with nothing to defend himself with, the guy is a sitting duck, and Shiho keeps it simple by doing the same medium-handed straight swing again to hit the guy in the head. And it was hard enough to bust up his head right away and send him tumbling down the stairs and knock him out for good. This shocks everyone in the room, not only just Jin Wak and his men, but even Jin Sik is shocked by this. Shiho then warns everybody by saying that if they don't want to meet the same fate as that guy, they should just stay at their place and not make a move. If they don't make a move, he will let them survive. Jin Wak, although shocked, is still confident and calls more men to the room to join the fight, and as they arrive inside the room, Jin Wak orders them all to go forward and take Shiho out of the equation. However, Shiho still stands firm with his traditional kendo stance, and as the men get up the stairs and come near him, Shiho uses the railing to lean on and use the forward's momentum to kick one of the opponents out. Shiho then uses the stair railing again as he swings his body towards this opponent's and delivers a one-handed short-hand sideways swing to the head of one guy to knock him out. Shiho then sees that some of the goons have gotten the higher ground, but Shiho counters this by changing his grip on the pipe and using a long-handed bullet stab technique to both hurt and disarm the men. Shiho then seeks out the correct opportunity to jump forward and hit both men with straight medium-handed swings to bust them open and take them out. Suddenly, most of the men have been knocked out by Shiho, and Jin Wak looks like he regrets all of this. Shiho then jumps downstairs and then begins a ruthless and extreme beatdown of all the remaining members of Jin Wak's crew, which we don't see, but the sounds were very loud, and the facial expressions of Sun Jin Sik, the man who saw all this, said all the story on how brutal and mental that beatdown was. Afterwards, we see the carnage that was caused by Shiho as we see several men who are knocked out and are bleeding profusely on the floor. Shiho then slowly approaches Jin Wak, who says that he got startled by all this and that he apologizes for all of the problems he has caused to Shiho. However, Shiho doesn't have any of it as he slowly backs Jin Wak down against a wall. Jin Wak then gets on his knees and apologizes to Shiho. Meanwhile, on the other side, we see CEO Yoon Sang-tae on his way to get the documents he wants approved by Yoon Pyung-wook. CEO Yoon says that he really wants to get rid of this Yoon Pyung-wook as soon as possible, because he is tired of bowing down and showing respect to someone who to him is a nobody. That is when we see that manager Yoo In-sung and CEO Yoon have arrived to the office of Yoon Pyung-wook. We get a look inside the office as well, and it's a very luxurious place with all sorts of classy and elegant aesthetic going around the room where Yoon Pyung-wook sits. We also see the man himself, Pyung-wook, as he sits down with an intent look on his face. We go back to the outside of the building where we see a dressed-up and dapper Yoon Sang-tae walk out of his car and into the office building. He then goes past the reception, and then a secretary escorts him to the room of Yoon Pyung-wook, and after entering the room, CEO Yoon Sang-tae bows down to show respect to Representative Yoon Pyung-wook. Yoon Pyung-wook then asks CEO Yoon for the documents that he was supposed to bring in, and then Yoon hands over the documents to the secretary, who then hands it over to Pyung-wook for him to check and approve. CEO Yoon is looking around until he sees another man in the room. However, he quickly gets shocked after seeing this man, who also stares him down, as if he has a past vendetta against Yoon. The man has a scar on his forehead and also grows facial hair. Meanwhile, back in the forests of Namiangju, we see that the flying stab attempt made by Baek Sang-woo didn't quite work out as intended, because Kim Gun-woo had rolled out of harm's way. After moving out to save himself, Gun-woo then gets up and makes a run for it to save his life. He even goes in between two of Baek Sang-woo's goons and decides to jump off the tiny cliff they were on. Sang-woo laughs this off and orders his underlings to go and get Gun-woo back. After jumping off the cliff, Kim Gun-woo was tumbling down. However, the problem came when his foot got stuck in a tree branch, so it totally ruined his momentum and hurts him. It also made him a sitting duck because he couldn't move for a while, and it allowed the goons of Sang-woo to catch up. Gun-woo has nowhere to go to as ahead of him is just an empty highway road. However, right then, he turns around and finds that Won Chong-su of Saegongnam, the person who had lied to him and got him in this trouble to begin with, was there with the vehicle they were riding, and he tells Gun-woo to join him. Chong-su also apologizes for what he did, and with no more safer option to go with, Kim Gun-woo ends up accepting Won Chong-su's request and joins him on the car as they quickly ride away from the situation, leaving everyone chasing after them with nothing to show for all the hard work they had done. Back at Yoon Pyung-wook's office room, we see that Yoon Pyung-wook himself was checking each and every document brought in by CEO Yoon. After observing the documents for a while, Pyung-wook sees that some of the documents have a blood-red stain on the top corners and so on. Young Pyung-wook then asks Seo-yoon if the director had really willfully agreed to give him authority over everything. Yoon stays calm under the pressure and simply says that this was indeed the case. After that, Young Pyung-wook asks another hard-hitting question to Yoon by asking him about those evident red-colored stain on some of the documents and what those said red-colored stains were and why they are on the documents. Seo-yoon Sang-tae still keeps his calm while answering such a hard question. Seo-yoon simply answered by saying that the stamps were done by the president of Irium Distribution, Mr. Park, and the president used ink to do the stamps from his side, and the said ink had malfunctioned during usage, which caused the ink to splatter around into the document papers. Yoon Pyung-wook looks like he doesn't really believe all these claims by CEO Yoon, so he gives him a deep and direct stare to intimidate Yoon. Yoon Sang-tae wonders if Representative Young is trying to scare him off and trying to test him with this stare. As much as he hates doing it, Yoon has no choice in the moment but to crumble down and show fear. So he looks away from the stare of Pyung-wook, which makes the representative happy. After that, Young Pyung-wook asks another question to CEO Yoon. He asks him if the rumors that are floating around everywhere about him have any substance to them or not. To which CEO Yoon replies by asking which rumors the representative is referring to. Pyung-wook then says that there are rumors going about Yoon Sang-tae that he has been illegally using force and other methods to take over the sub-organizations under Yoon Pyung-wook, and asks if those rumors are true. CEO Yoon says that those rumors are untrue as he has done nothing like that to gain authority over those groups and organizations. CEO Yoon says that instead of using force or other illegal methods to take over at those groups and organizations, CEO Yoon instead opted to hold peaceful and friendly meetings, where they would discuss regarding the future and the well-being from both sides' point of view and come to a deal over a drink. Hearing this, Yoon Pyung-wook has a slight smile on his face. Yoon Pyung-wook then tells CEO Yoon that he, in no way, should even think about crossing the line when it comes to such intricate matters. Saying this, Pyung-wook's smile disappears as he goes into a more serious mode, and he tells CEO Yoon that if he were to somehow cross over the proverbial line of no crossing, then it won't be him who would punish Yoon. Instead, it would be Do-hyun who will go into business for themselves and punish Yoon for the wrongdoings. Listening to this, CEO Yoon ends up getting an evil smirk across his face for a while before he quickly turns it around and goes into docile mode, as he told Yoon Pyung-wook that it is because of Do-hyun that they are even on the level that they are on now. Do-hyun is the reason why they can live a good life, and he is forever grateful for that. And as for getting punished by Do-hyun, even the prospect is terrifying to Yoon. As he says this, we see the man with facial hair stare at CEO Yoon, making it obvious that he doesn't even have an ounce of belief on what Yoon is saying at that moment. Yoon Pyung-wook then praises Yoon Sang-tae, saying that he must really be good at his work, or else he wouldn't be able to make so much progress in so little time. He then tells CEO Yoon that he is done with the documents and that he can leave now. The secretary then hands over the documents back to CEO Yoon before guiding him out of there. After Yoon left, we see a conversation between Yoon Pyung-wook and the man with facial hair. As Pyung-wook basically brags about how Yoon Sang-tae is scared of him and how scared he was looking when he stared at him, he also points out that the bearded man, who he refers to as chief, didn't need to come and monitor such a small meeting. Yoon Pyung-wook also further adds on that while he really appreciates all the concern and help from Do-hyun regarding what's up in his area, it is still his area, so it somewhat bothers him when there's overindulgence from other places. After this, the chief gets up and is about to leave before he stops and turns around to say that a wolf is a wolf no matter what he behaves like. The scene then changes and we see that Yoon Sang-tae is inside his car, and he is very happy with how the stuff went with Yoon Pyung-wook went. He wonders if there's something like royalty when it comes to the industry. If so, he might sim for it next because he just can't stop getting higher and higher. However, part of him is still worried. He understands that Yoon Pyung-wook isn't that big of an issue and it's someone he can deal with. However, Do-hyun is present as a huge problem to his expansionist mindset, so that's something that they definitely need to get rid of. Just at that moment, Yoon gets a call from Hwang Jin-hak. However, in actuality, it's Shiho behind the call. CEO Yoon picks up the call and asks the one on call if he is done with the job, assuming it was Jin-hak. However, it was Shiho and responds by saying no. CEO Yoon immediately understands that it's someone else who had called him with Jin-hak's phone, and he immediately confronts Shiho by asking him just who he thinks he is and how dare he interfere in Yoon's business. Shiho, cold-blooded as always, replies by saying that CEO Yoon needs to get used to this from now on, because Shiho will block everything he will try to do. CEO Yoon Sang-tae laughs this off by asking if this is a new way to take one's own life, or else why would someone dare try to interfere in his business and then try to be cool about it? Shiho replies by saying that Yoon has got it all mixed up. He further says that the only one whose life will be taken will be Yoon Sang-tae. This shocks everyone in that building, be that Yoon's goons or Sun Jin-sik. All are awed by how courageous Shiho is, whereas CEO Yoon is pissed off, but this is where the real battle between Shiho and Yoon Sang-tae begins. Next up, we see that a presentation about the life of Yoon Sang-tae is being presented by someone through a projector. We learn that Yoon Sang-tae, then known as Yoon Miho, was a national champion at judo at age 20 only and was considered a prodigy of sorts. However, a year later, at age 21, all of that went to drain when Yoon, who was practicing a choke hold on one of his lower-class men, accidentally ended up taking the life of the kid. This got him into huge trouble and ended up getting him a life ban from judo competition. Due to the fact that Yoon managed to talk to the family of the kid and do some sort of settlement that he only got away with 4 years in jail. After those 4 years in jail, Yoon came back and became a professional fighter. He took the local MMA scene by storm with his dominating performances and had amassed a record of 5 wins and 0 losses before his past history came back into light and he got released by the promotion he was fighting for, effectively ending his competitive martial arts career. However, at age 26, Yoon Sang-tae made a return to the limelight as he joined the Gold Organization as its special enforcer. The rest of his history is pretty well known. He rose up to power and then betrayed his own boss to start his own monopoly over the organizations. That concludes the briefing session, which was being held by Choi Hyun-young of the Seoyang organization. Choi talks about how it must have been frustrating for the Gold Organization to have someone like him on their side. However, she wonders if there's something special that Yoon Sang-tae could potentially bring to the Seoyang organization if he were to be brought in by them. The chief from the meeting before is also a part of the Seoyang organization, and he talks about how the question of even bringing him in is stupid. Because Yoon is selfish and he betrayed and took the life of his own boss just for his own personal gain and nothing else. So adding someone like that will only do harm to the organization and not any good. The chairman of the Seoyang organization then speaks up and he says that there's no need to be so serious about this whole matter. However, he agrees with the chief in that Yoon's existence is a problem for them and they need to stop him before he creates a greater influence on Yoon Pyong-wook and get to even bigger heights and cause them trouble. The chief then reports that there have been some reports of internal issues happening inside of Yoon Sang-tae's business dynasty, as rumors of Kim Tae-chong and Lee Sang-cheol being attacked so badly that their entire divisions had to be scrapped seem to be true. It is also said that Kim Tae-chong in particular was attacked so badly that he might not ever move properly on his own again. And besides all these things, there are also rumors that people from within the system of Yoon's dynasty have started to turn against him and might be the cause of an internal uprising. The chairman says that this is all good news. However, taking one look at the guy, you can tell that Yoon Sang-tae is not a normal guy. So low-level things like this can't possibly hold him back, and nor can low-level people capture him. The chief says that he and Hee-soo will be the ones handling the matter of Yoon. The chairman says that he is fine with that and he will further give the chief permission to do anything while on mission. The chairman then says that he doesn't want constant updates, but he definitely wants update if they end up finishing off Yoon Sang-tae. We learn that the chairman of Seoyang organization is called Kim In-beom. The scene then changes to the again karaoke bar, where it seems like everything is back in track and things are going well. One of the employees asks another employee about just how long since they have been working so normally. The question as to when the boss, Do Kyung-gu, will be back again is also asked, to which someone answers that he is already back and is in an important meeting in the inside room. We see that a conversation is going on between Kim Gun-woo, Do Kyung-gu, Won Chong-soo, and Shiho about how them losing control of the Irium distribution is going to cost them big, as even places like this karaoke bar is also under the ownership of the Irium distribution. Do Kyung-gu goes into stress mode as the toll of coming back from the injury and now knowing that his bar might get screwed. He can't comprehend as to what they can do. Shiho says that there has been no response from CEO Yoon after he proved the man on the phone. Gun-woo tells Shiho that even though Yoon is a hothead, he is still a very meticulous thinker, and so he won't take any decisions on a whim. The quieter he gets, the bigger the explosion will be from his side. Do Kyung-gu then says that then maybe they should change their location to avoid a head-on clash and asks Chairman Chong-soo as to what his opinions are. Wong Su says that it's hard for him to give a proper opinion when he was supposed to betray this side anyway. Gun-woo says that he understands that threats were probably involved in all of this and that he guessed something was wrong when he said that there were no problems with his family. Chang-su says that he said it because he is divorced and doesn't care about his family, to which Gun-woo says that he wasn't aware of that. Shiho then steps up and asks if he can provide his opinions on this, to which Gun-woo says that he is open to hearing what he has to say. Shiho says that he heard that Seoul is controlled by a union called Do-hyun, and that the union splits the power to the 12 board of directors. Pyong-wook has 17 organizations under him. However, there are other entities like the name distribution who also have their sub-organizations. So even if Yoon ends up fooling Pyong-wook taking over his share, there is still a lot more to do. And besides, the other leaders aren't as poor at management as Pyong-wook, so they won't let Yoon start a power struggle. So Yoon can't control Seoul right now and will probably have to dive into other areas. Gun-woo says that knowing Yoon, he can probably think that way and asks Do Kyung-gu if he remembers how Yoon once told them about taking over Namiangju and Pangeo. To which Do Kyung-gu says that Yoon is crazy. Then Shiho says that they should be taking over Namiangju and Pangeo first, which makes Kyung-gu say that Shiho is crazy too. Shiho then explains his plan. He says that Yoon Sang-tae will be unable to make moves inside Seoul because of the Do-hyun, and if they also manage to take over at Namiangju and other outer areas, Yoon Sang-tae will be isolated and have nowhere to go, and he can start making mistakes from there. Shiho then throws a dart which gets the perfect 10, as Shiho says that they'll be the ones who take down Yoon Sang-tae. Kim Gun-woo says he likes the plan and will like to execute it, and says that whoever that wants to do it should put their hands forward. Chang-su and Shiho join up immediately. Do Kyung-gu feels the plan is too risky, but as everyone wants it, he ends up joining with them too. The scene then changes to inside of the K Entertainment building, where we see a woman says that she is scared because Yoon Sang-tae hasn't moved an inch from his chair for the last 3 days. We then see CEO Yoon sitting on his chair with a lot of intensity. He then gets a call which he picks up, and we get to know that it is Yoo In-sung who had called. Manager Yoo says that they've slowly taken over control from all of Director Park's businesses. However, an exception remain. The exception here being the Again Karaoke Bar, who say that they were not directly owned by Director Park. They say that Director Park had given Kim Gun-woo his own section to have authority over, and within that section, the Again Karaoke Bar was made, and so, the majority liquidity ownership of Again Karaoke Bar is with Gun-woo, and hence they are not obligated to join the side of CEO Yoon. Manager Yoo In-sung then suggests that they take it to the court and fight this legally, but Yoon says that he should just let it go. This shocks Manager Yoo, but CEO Yoon repeats again that they should leave them be, and instead of asking them to give up ownership, he should instead ask them to hand over Hwang Jin-hak, who they're holding captive, in exchange for not taking this to a legal battle. The call then ends, and Yoon In-sung wonders just what has gotten into CEO Yoon, as he didn't punish Baek Sang-hwa for letting Gun-woo slip away, and now he is also asking to get back Hwang Jin-hak, who he couldn't care less about. So maybe he is plotting something huge. Meanwhile, CEO Yoon thinks about how he has gotten control over 15 of the 17 sub-organizations under Yoon Pyong-wook, and says that only 2 sub-organizations remain. So he is pretty sure that Kim Gun-woo will try to contact those 2 organizations and try to aware them of Yoon's intention, and also try to get them on their side. That's why he wants them to keep in business, so that when they go over to try convince those other organizations to join their side, Yoon will attack them all at once and finish them off for good. On the other hand, at Namiangju, we see that Do Kyung-gu and Ye Shiho are out on the search for a particular company who they will use to further establish their footing in the outskirts of Seoul. After searching, they end up finding a very run-down-looking place which is supposedly a travel agency, and enter the place. Upon getting inside, they see that the people managing the office are busy hanging out with hot, attractive women, and are taken aback by the sudden appearance of those 2. The manager gets up and chews them out for showing up in such a hostile manner. Do Kyung-gu tries to play it cool by saying that they're just there to have a friendly conversation with the owner of the office, Oh Ji-hong. The manager then tells the girls to leave the place, and one of the girls also praises Shiho for his good looks. The manager then tells those 2 to get straight to the point, and Do Kyung-gu says that they're just there to have a collaboration. The manager then calms down and says that it is fine then, and that if they need help to establish a new karaoke bar there, he will definitely help, but Shiho intervenes and says that he and Do Kyung-gu are here to offer the guys a chance to join them and work with them, or become one of their enemies. This pisses off the manager as he asks if Shiho is threatening them and if the duo are there to take over the office by force, to which Shiho says that they are here to do just that. Du Kyung-gu tries to tell Shiho to be less hostile as all of them are gangsters, but Shiho doesn't really fear anyone. The manager then steps up with his fellow gangsters and tells Shiho that if they want to take over the office, they'll have to beat all of them to get through. The scene then cuts to the outside where we see the body of one of the gangsters dropping from a couple of stories down the window and onto the road. Shiho has already beaten everyone up to a pulp, and the manager, who was once being aggressive, has now submitted and is hiding himself behind girls. After that, Shiho and Du Kyung-gu sit down inside the club room as they await for the director to show up. Eventually, Oh Ji-hong, the director of the entire Namiangju sub-organization, arrives to meet them. He is unimpressed seeing Shiho and Kyung-gu and labels them as kids. Ji-hong sits down in front of them with a cigarette in his mouth and asks the two why they came there. He wonders if they are there to form an alliance. Du Kyung-gu says they run a small karaoke bar in Silsadont, but before he can put forward the hand in alliance, Shiho intervenes. Shiho directly says that they aren't there to form an alliance. Ji-hong is taken aback by Shiho's behavior, and Du Kyung-gu is shocked too, as he questions Shiho's intention for saying that. Ji-hong then puts his hand up and asks Shiho that if he is not there to form an alliance, then why are they even here? Shiho doesn't hold back and tells Ji-hong that they are here to give a recommendation. Ji-hong asks what kind of recommendation is Shiho even talking about, to which Shiho tells him that he wants Ji-hong and his Namiangju alliance to submit to them and become their sub-organization. This statement shocks everyone. Ji-hong can't believe what Shiho said because of the absurd nature of the statement, and it makes him laugh. However, the statement is a calculated own from Shiho. He understands that it will take a lot of time to get things together to form an alliance. They can't afford to waste times, which is why he thinks they should flex their muscle and make these sub-organizations submit to them. After all, the people of these gangs are like wild animals, so there is no use in trying to make peace with them. Eventually, the rest of the Namiangju guys look ready after hearing Shiho's statement, and a fight seems imminent. Meanwhile, the scene changes to the again karaoke bar, where an unknown man enters the bar. Kim Gun-woo is in charge, and he greets the customer warmly upon entering. But as he pays more attention to it, he realizes that the guy who just entered the bar is none other than Representative Yoon Sang-tae. Kim Gun-woo's mood immediately changes, as he sarcastically remarks about how he didn't expect the final battle between them to start so soon. Yoon Sang-tae, though, makes it clear that he has come alone and has no intention of fighting. He is here to talk. Gun-woo says that he has come to the right place then, because their bar is a place where people talk. It's a place where you can talk, but not touch. Representative Yoon lets Gun-woo know that he isn't here to talk with women. He doesn't want that. He wants Kim Gun-woo. This makes Gun-woo joke about how he didn't expect Yoon Sang-tae to have a thing for him, which in turn makes Sang-tae laugh as well. Following this, Representative Yoon goes inside to the karaoke room to have a private talk with Kim Gun-woo. As he sits there, Kim Gun-woo comes and praises Representative Yoon for having a lot of guts. After all, not everyone is capable of entering the enemy's home all by themselves. Following this, he asks Yoon Sang-tae to start talking. Representative Yoon starts by saying that when he joined this side, he started off with a good job at the gold trading company. However, there was always someone on top of him and someone else on top of that guy too. It was like the world order had already been created, and they were just mere pieces. But eventually, the system cracked and a new master of the world emerged in Do-hyun. As Yoon Sang-tae goes on, Gun-woo listened with an intense look. Representative Yoon adds that the people on top of the world fight amongst each other to assert more domination, whereas people like them are left at the bottom following orders. Kim Gun-woo doesn't get the point of all the yapping and asks him what he means by all this. Representative Yoon finally reveals his aspirations to him, saying that he wants to become the master of the world too. Kim Gun-woo looked at him intensely before asking him if he really meant it. Yoon Sang-tae thinks there is nothing in the world that he can't do. If people like Lee Sang-chan, Hyun Tae-cheol, and Lee Young-woo can do it, why can't he? Is there a set rule that only these people can be the kings? Suddenly, Kim Gun-woo is shocked as Representative Yoon becomes more passionate in describing how he wants to rule the world and achieve everything there is to achieve. Gun-woo listens to his rant, before asking him if he really intends to overthrow Do-hyun. Because that is not an easy task, because Do-hyun is the most powerful man in the area and might cost him his life. Representative Yoon explains that to achieve such a high-level position, a man must be willing to sacrifice his life. After all, what is the meaning of life if you can't risk it for your goals? Gun-woo questions why Representative Yoon is telling him about all of this, to which Yoon Sang-tae says that it is because he wants Gun-woo to join him. Together, they can create a new world. However, Kim Gun-woo doesn't want any of that. He strongly refuses, saying that to the ones who made him who he is today, Yoon Sang-tae will always be a traitor. Representative Yoon isn't bothered by this though. He thinks it's only natural to move forward in this way. One cannot be great without bloodshed and backstabbing. After all, why should a man like him, who has such strong motivation, follow the rules and play it safe only to end up failing? This sends Kim Gun-woo to his breaking point, as he emphatically answers that he should fail because he is a traitor. He also notes that at this moment, he is trying his very best not to finish off Representative Yoon for good. This makes Yoon Sang-tae laugh in a sarcastic manner, before saying that all of this is very annoying. Gun-woo asks him what exactly is annoying. Yoon Sang-tae replies that threats are only impactful when made by people in strong position, otherwise it's annoying. Saying this, he gets up and leaves the place, while Gun-woo grits his teeth in anger. Outside the room, Sihyen is sending messages to Shiho, but he doesn't reply to her. This makes Sihyen think that he might be ignoring her again, and has her being a bit mad at him. However, when she sees Representative Yoon walking out of the room, it startles her and she is taken aback. As he passes her by, Yoon Sang-tae tells Sihyen that if she intends to live, she should quit working here, before leaving the place. This has Sihyen at a loss for words, because she can't quite process what it means yet. The scene then changes back to the Namiangju karaoke bar, where with a mic stick, Shiho has taken out the entire Namiangju subgroup on his own. He has annihilated everyone and everything, leaving everyone down on the floor. Shiho then menacingly looks back at the director Oh Ji-hong, who is scared for his life. Ji-hong quickly scoots in front of him and sits on his knees, basically looking for mercy. Shiho sees this and tells Ji-hong to bow down to him and submit to them. Scared, Ji-hong doesn't think twice and does as Shiho told him. As everything is sorted out, Shiho tells Do Kyung-gu that they should sign the equities contract and take their leave. However, Do Kyung-gu didn't look like he was in a good mood. He tells Shiho that what he just did was just him using his force to get Namiangju to side with them. Shiho replies saying that he just showed them the disparity in power levels between the two groups, making them submit quickly instead of something long and drawn out. This seems to anger Do Kyung-gu even more, as he proceeds to yell at Shiho and tell him that what he just did is no different from what Yoon Sang-tae would have done in the situation. Shiho was left shocked by what Kyung-gu said. Later on, the two of them sat together in the car while on their way back from the Namiangju office. There was some understandable tension between the two after what happened earlier. To ease up the situation, Shiho finally speaks up and apologizes to Do Kyung-gu. Acting oblivious, Kyung-gu asked Shiho why he was apologizing. Shiho replies saying that he was apologizing because of what he said earlier. He said how the comparison Kyung-gu made between him and Yoon Sang-tae really hit him hard. Kyung-gu sighs and there is some silence between them for a while. After that, Kyung-gu speaks up, asking Shiho if he is aware of the fact that before Do-hyun took over, Lee Sang-chan and Hyun Tae-cheol were divided. Shiho says that he does know about it. Kyung-gu further elaborates on the matter, saying that Lee Sang-chan was just a typical gangster. He didn't really have much going for him other than that. He was an aggressive go-getter who always looks to assert his dominance to get his way. Hyun Tae-cheol, though, was a different gravy altogether. He came from Gangwon-do, so he is what one would call a country boy. Despite that, he used his ability to form alliances with anyone and everyone to his advantage. He ran into Yoon Jae-sik, someone who is known to put country boys like Tae-cheol into hard situations and see where they go. Jae-sik offered such a thing to Tae-cheol as well. He offered to operate a karaoke bar for a month to see his worth. The karaoke bar was on the 5th floor of a run-down building. The business was previously run by J6 Huang Gang, but it was abandoned a while back and was on the verge of going out of business. Despite that, Hyun Tae-cheol and his team of country boys picked up the deal and took control of the karaoke bar that day. He told Jae-sik that he will be doing the work for Jae-sik, but in exchange, he won't be paying any rent and would use the place as his main point. Yoon Jae-sik was curious as to what those guys would do and ended up putting a lot of faith and assets into their cause. After that, Hyun Tae-cheol's Dong-hae kept growing in stature. It became a mainstay in the business thanks to him working with several fellow organizations. His policy was simple: to never be rude to anyone. He won hearts and never attacked anyone first. This made the Dong-hae a successful venture, and other groups also came to them in need because they were friendly. After telling Shiho the whole story, Do Kyung-gu asks if Shiho understands the meaning of it. Shiho didn't really get the main point yet, so Kyung-gu explained further. The main point of it is that trust is power. Once you have the support and trust of your fellow organizations, you can only grow in status. However, people like Shiho, who is always looking for retribution, don't understand it. His bloodlust has made him prone to looking for aggressive ways and quick results. It has made him like the person he hates, Yoon Sang-tae. However, not everything can be done like that. Do Kyung-gu makes it clear to Shiho that he doesn't want Shiho to think of him and Kim Gun-woo as tools for his revenge. If he does so, Kyung-gu won't forgive him. Shiho is speechless after what Do Kyung-gu said, and eventually he agrees to what he says. The next day, Kim Gun-woo, Do Kyung-gu and Yi Shiho sit down to have a discussion of what took place the day before. Kyung-gu is surprised to know that Yoon Sang-tae came to their place to talk and left normally without causing trouble. However, Shiho is mad and is clenching his fist in anger. Gun-woo explains Representative Yoon's mindset by stating how he knows Gun-woo well enough to know that he won't attack. After all, Gun-woo doesn't identify as a gangster, and Sang-tae came alone. Kyung-gu doesn't understand what's going on inside Representative Yoon's head. Gun-woo thinks it's quite complicated. He mentions how Wong Su changed the business license of again. This isn't usual behavior from Yoon Sang-tae. It can be his way of sending a message through the visit. He is giving them an option to join him or face his wrath later on. Kyung-gu is stressed out by all of this, but he assures Gun-woo that their Namiangju venture went well. Next, he is going to meet some new potential partners to ally with the help of director Oh Ji-hong. Just then, Shiho notices something critical and informs the two of them that it's a trap. They're both taken aback by it, and Gun-woo questions what exactly makes Shiho think it's a trap. Shiho explains that it must not be as straight-laced as Representative Yoon is portraying it as. There is deception to it. They ask him what kind of deception it could be, to which Shiho says that it could be him deceiving them to lure them out. This raises question for Kim Gun-woo, who asks what need does Yoon Sang-tae have to lure them out. Shiho lets him know that it's not them that they're luring out, it's their potential allies. Learning this shocks both Gun-woo and Do Kyung-gu. Shiho goes on further, adding how Representative Yoon's sudden visit has sent them into panic mode. This will make them work quicker to get as many allies as possible. By getting them to do this, Yoon Sang-tae can lure everyone out and take care of everyone at once. The mind-blowing theory left both of them stunned for a while, before Kyung-gu asked if it is really that deep, or just Shiho overthinking. Gun-woo tells him that the theory does make sense, and asks Shiho what should they be doing in opposition to Sang-tae's plan. Shiho brings up the two remaining regions after the passing of Director Park. Gun-woo lets him know that they're Gwanghyung-sa, and the other is Keenum Constructions. Shiho notes how these two organizations must already be aware of Yoon Sang-tae's and the imminent danger that he possesses. So, it's normal to assume that they must have already teamed up among each other. Gun-woo agrees with the assessment and asks Shiho if he should contact Gwanghyung-sa first in this case. Shiho quickly turns him down, saying they shouldn't be making any moves at the moment. After all, this is what Yoon Sang-tae wants them to do. He wants them to make moves and draw out their allies. Do Kyung-gu questions Shiho's statement, asking what should they do then? Should they just wait and have Sang-tae run them over? Shiho thinks for that to happen, Yoon Sang-tae needs to see them on his level, which he doesn't. They're basically nothing to him, so he won't pay extra attention to getting them. So, his first target in this case might be Gwang Hyung-sa or Kianam Constructions. But they need to make it for others to think this way too. Shiho states that they're currently at the very beginning of the plan, so it buys them about a week or two before the game really starts. They've been working rapidly to get allies on the outskirts of Seoul, but on the surface, they're nothing but management merchants. So, they need to up the ante and make Representative Yoon think of them as his equal in the game. Gun-woo asks what's next then, to which Shiho suggests that they actually help Yoon Sang-tae in hitting those two other regions first. Only once he hits them should they expose Yoon Sang-tae to their real power. Gun-woo wonders what even is their power, while Do Kyung-go looked on skeptically. Shiho takes a moment of silence and recalls the things Kyung-gu told him in the car. After that, he says that he will show him their power, which is the trust and support of their allies. Only by winning the hearts of their allies can they achieve such power. The scene then changes to Gwang Hyung's building, where an attractive young woman is seen throwing a tantrum at her lackeys. They apologize to her, but she doesn't want to hear their sorry excuses anymore. The lady is Lee Ha-min, the CEO of Gwang Hyung. She mentions how before her father passed away, he instructed them to work for her safety, but they haven't done so. She says while poking at one of the lackeys with a name board. She mentions how it's a common rumor that Yoon Sang-tae has taken over President Park's business. So why can't her men just track his house, car, and commute route to get information on him and finish him? Her lackeys let her know that Sang-tae has a well-protected house. He also has 3 of the same car, which all come out and come in at the same time, making it hard for them to track. As for approaching Yoon Sang-tae personally, that's out of question, because the guy is just too strong. This makes Ha-min worry, as she questions if they should just stay put and let Representative Yoon destroy them. She also questions what are Kianma Constructions up to? They must be in a similar boat to them, yet they aren't working together. Why is that so? Have they become too big and need to be cut off? One of the lackeys responds saying that they contacted President Cheon, and he made it clear that he won't be working with someone who wears a skirt. This pisses off Ha-min greatly, as she throws away the name sign to express it. She can't believe how regressive and sexist the country is. However, that's not the main problem. The problem is Yoon Sang-tae. One of the lackeys assure her that it's fine, because even if Sang-tae is a buff dude, his crew is below par and can be taken care of. He suggests contacting Jung Pyung-wook. Ha-min sighs, as she notes how Jung Pyung-wook only likes money. She instead suggests they talk to Park Oh-sang and Oh Ye-gang instead. But the lackey shuts it down, stating how they don't want to get involved in Jung Pyung-wook's business. This puts Ha-min in a lot of distress, as she wonders what they can even do. Throwing balls to the walls, she suggests they hire mercenaries or something. But one of the lackeys reveal that Kim Gun-woo, President Park's disciple, has an interesting case. His business hasn't yet been hit by Yoon Sang-tae for whatever reason. He also lets her know about how Kim Gun-woo has hired a strong mercenary. Speculation goes that Yoon Sang-tae hasn't gone after him because of the mercenary. Lee Ha-min hears this and tells her men to immediately contact Kim Gun-woo. The scene changes to the means noodle shop, where Kim Gun-woo and Do Kyung-gu are together. Gun-woo orders 2 udons for the 2 of them. As they settle down, Do Kyung-gu talks about Shiho and how bold he is as a person to have repeated Kyung-gu's own line in front of him. Kim Gun-woo listens, as Kyung-gu says that they should discuss Shiho now that his topic has been brought up. He thinks that Gun-woo is being too light on Shiho. He is letting him off without any consequences. After all, Shiho is the guy who had suggested they go for Pangeo and Namiangju first 3 days ago. He told them that Yoon Sang-tae won't be attacking the inner circle, so he will go for the outskirts first. This is why they went to the outskirts to look for allies and stuff. However, now that he is seeing things aren't going his way, he has changed up his tone. Gun-woo smiles a little hearing all this and says that Yi Shiho was making sense back then, and he is making sense even now. In reply, Kyung-gu points out how Shiho has been doing nothing but using them as instruments for his revenge. He doesn't think of this as a team effort and only thinks from his own side. So, it's weird for Kyung-gu that Kim Gun-woo always listens to whatever Shiho has to say. Gun-woo smirks again, as he asks Kyung-gu what he thinks of Yoon Sang-tae. Kyung-gu is taken aback by this, as he didn't expect to talk about Representative Yoon all of a sudden. Gun-woo elaborates that when Sang-tae came to the Again karaoke bar, it really made him reevaluate the guy again. Because it sure does take a lot of confidence for a man to step into the enemy's sight while being all alone. Kyung-gu thinks that isn't anything special, as Yoon Sang-tae already knows about Kim Gun-woo and his nature. He was sure that Gun-woo wouldn't attack him, even if he went there alone. However, Gun-woo still thinks that it was a very brave move, even if everything was calculated by him. This makes Kyung-gu wonder what he means by the calculation. Just then, the ramen guy brings the udon for the two, and they dig in. It is then that Gun-woo reveals that Yoon Sang-tae has cornered him and is pressurizing him to make a move. Kyung-gu is curious, as Gun-woo reveals that Yoon Sang-tae basically wants them to go to Gwanghyung and Kyeonma and bow down. This will give him justification to go after them. He can just say that he provided them with a chance to join him, but they decided to act against him. He will say it's a choice made by them, and this will allow him to take out everyone in one go. Kyung-gu agrees with this assessment, saying that Representative Yoon likes to justify his actions. He also expresses his confusion as to why people like him think of themselves as noble men when they're the ones doing all the shenanigans. Gun-woo goes on, saying that if they are to follow Shiho's plan, then they are going to form alliances with the outskirts. In the meanwhile, if Yoon Sang-tae decides to attack Gwanghyung-sa or Kyeonma constructions, they can just assist them there. Do Kyung-gu asks him how they are supposed to get the perfect timing on something like this, to which Gun-woo says that they can't really do that. Gun-woo further adds that if they go with Shiho's plan, everything will break apart, and it won't work out. They might even need to make a sacrifice for it. Do Kyung-gu says that if Gun-woo had this all figured out, then why did he even bother agreeing to what Shiho said? Gun-woo replies saying that he did it because Shiho wouldn't listen to him otherwise. However, if his plans were to crumble right in front of his eyes, he would understand the mistakes he is making. He will start listening to Gun-woo, and eventually Shiho will become a weapon for him. Gun-woo claims this with a lot of conviction, and Kyung-gu can't help but be a bit intimidated by the intensity of Gun-woo. Later that evening, in the karaoke bar, Lee Ha-min and her guards pay a visit, while Shiho and President Won are in charge. Gun-woo and Kyung-gu make their way back to the Again karaoke bar. Upon coming back, Gun-woo asks President Won if they can take Shiho with them to eat together. President Won told him to look behind, and there he sees Ha-min and her crew. Initially, Gun-woo doesn't recognize them. So, Ha-min says that he must know her dad, who was Lee Gwanghyung. It is then that Kim Gun-woo recognizes her and calls her the new president of Gwanghyung-sa. However, Ha-min doesn't like this. She states how her father had passed away over 3 years ago, yet Gun-woo is addressing her as the new president. She calls his information source to be slow. Gun-woo humbly apologizes and asks Ha-min for her purpose to pay a visit. In reply, Ha-min doesn't waste any time and cuts to chase by declaring that she will be hitting Yoon Sang-tae before Yoon Sang-tae can hit her, and she intends to do this as soon as next Wednesday. This declaration shocks Shiho, and even Kyung-gu is bothered, as he mentions how it is too quick to do something on such a large scale. Ha-min doesn't agree with that sentiment. If anything, it's already too late according to her. They can't afford to waste time after all. She asks Kyung-gu if he knows why the 6 martyr ministers became martyrs. Kyung-gu says he doesn't, to which Ha-min explains that Yu Young-bo was guarding King Sejo. It was then that he realized that it's the perfect opportunity for him to strike. This is when Sam Sung-young interfered and said that it's simply not the right time for them to do so. This made him hesitate, and this is what cost him his chance. If he had just swung his sword, everything would be over, and he would have achieved what he wanted. But he opted to wait for the perfect time and place, which never came and ended up making him lose it all. So she can't afford to wait. Kyung-gu realizes that this lady isn't like the other ones and decides to stay away from her to avert danger. Following this, Ha-min gets up from her seat and says that historical events from the Joseon dynasty has been filling up her head. She then proceeds to kick the desk behind Gun-woo while she confronts him and tells him that they should create some history for themselves. Despite her approach, Gun-woo keeps a calm head and tells her that they won't really be of any help in this situation. But Ha-min is skeptical and asks to meet the infamous mercenary at Gun-woo's disposal. But Gun-woo strictly denies the existence of said mercenary, saying they don't have any. Ha-min finds it hard to believe, and furthermore she doesn't think it matters. She just wants to know if they're joining or not. Gun-woo suggests Ha-min tries to strike up a partnership with Kianma Constructions, as they're much more well-fitted to help her. But Ha-min turns that down, saying President Cheon has already refused to team up and work with her, because she is a woman. But she thinks that isn't a big deal, as President Cheon can be taken care of later. The bigger problem in hand right now is Yoon Sang-tae, and he needs to be dealt with soon. So, she asks if he is really turning her down because that will disappoint her. Still polite, Gun-woo states that they just don't have the capability to provide help against Sang-tae. Besides, he thinks that a company like Gwanghyung doesn't even need the help of small businesses like his, because they're already so strong by themselves. With people like Nam Gung-won and Kim Chan-jail fighting from Gwanghyung's side, even Yoon Sang-tae will be scared of taking them on. Ha-min sees it differently. To her, the more people on her side, the merrier it is. So, she asks Gun-woo one last time if he is refusing to join her side. Gun-woo states that they're not refusing her. It's just that they don't have the necessary power to stand a chance in helping her. Ha-min takes that as the final answer and calls Gun-woo and his squad cowards. She then angrily takes her leave from the place, even flipping the middle finger to them on her way out. The scene shifts to the K Entertainment building, where Yoon Sang-tae is sitting in his office room. Suddenly, he receives a message from someone. Reading the message, Sang-tae can't help but let out a smile. He then hits up the conference call and tells his men to gather everyone on Tuesday, because they have some work to do on Tuesday. After that, Sang-tae gets up and hits up another call, this time a private one to an acquaintance. There, he asks the person on the phone if he has prepared the mercenary that he asked for. The guy lets him know that they've got a mercenary for him. They've snuggled in the man from Japan. He will be moving to Seoul soon, so Yoon Sang-tae can meet up with him soon. The guy's name is Ri Watanabe. He is a wielder of a long sword called Sachikado. Yoon Sang-tae asks the guy on the phone if he can test the swordsman that they're sending. This makes the guy scoff, as he thinks Representative Yoon has grown up a lot to use that kind of language with him. Pissed, Sang-tae says that there isn't funny about it, and he might have also grown bigger than him at this point. The person on the phone realizes that, and after a moment of silence, asks Sang-tae what kind of test he is looking for. Yoon Sang-tae directly tells the guy that he wants the mercenary to be sent to Namiangju right away. The scene goes back to the Again bar, where Shiho asks Kim Gun-woo that if he intends to send Shiho to subdue Yoon Sang-tae next Sunday. Gun-woo is a bit annoyed by this, and says that it was Shiho himself who had told them to not make any moves. Shiho agrees, but before he can say more, Gun-woo asks if he is doing this because he wants to get Yoon Sang-tae. Gun-woo says he understands his want to get his hands on the guy, but at the very least, he needs to be consistent with his own plans. He then pats Shiho on the shoulder and tells him to welcome the new customers because it is business hours. Gun-woo smirks after doing this, while Shiho looked down seriously. At the Namiangju karaoke bar, a lady came with a giant sword. She was talking in Japanese about how she holds no grudge, and that this is just her being tested by someone. Oh Ji-hong is confused by this, as he doesn't understand Japanese, and asks anyone if they do so. He is a bit frightened by the sword, and wonders why the lady is even there. The lady then swiftly brings her long sword out, drawing gasps from everyone present. They all go into panic mode, as they wonder if the person in front of them is crazy. They can't tell if she is even aware of where she is. However, the girl wastes no time, and smoothly starts to swing the sword in a roundwards motion. This makes everyone scared, and before long, she starts slicing everyone. Blood flies off everywhere, as the people of Namiangju beg for mercy, but they aren't spared. Before long, the entire bar is left as a graveyard of sliced bodies, as the beautiful lady cleans the blood stains off of herself. After the incident, a few people come inside the bar. It includes Park Sang-hoon and Kwon Mo, the president and action head of the Namiangju Wanj faction. They are there to meet up with director Oh Ji-hong to discuss about meeting Kim Gun-woo. However, upon stepping foot inside the room, the guy is shocked to see the bloody floor, lifeless body, and sheer carnage that was caused there. It immediately induces cringe, and the guy notices that director OG Hong himself had his lifeless body laying out there. Meanwhile, at the again karaoke bar, Kim Gun-woo learns about something on a phone call. After hanging up, he seems like he is in a hurry, as he tells Director One that they need to go somewhere soon and have a meeting. Following this, Kim Gun-woo pretty much storms out of the room, bumping into Do Kyung-gu on his way out. Kyung-gu wonders what happens, but his curiosity isn't satisfied, so he looked on as Gun-woo left. Following this, he goes inside and puts forward the stuff he bought. But what bothered Do Kyung-gu was the lack of people. No tables were booked, and this is a bad sign. He questions how they are supposed to run a business if it's so empty. Kyung-gu then learns that Erin, a hostess at the bar, has been missing in action for a while. He also hears of the rumor that she might be leaving. Learning about this makes Kyung-gu immediately go over to check up on Erin. So he went to the hostess locker to see Erin packing up. He asks Erin where she was, and what's with her lack of enthusiasm for work. Erin then lets Kyung-gu know that she doesn't want to work there anymore, as it's simply not enough money for her, which is why she is leaving. She just wanted to leave, but because she respects Kyung-gu, so she came to leave formally. Kyung-gu doesn't like this and asks Erin to stay, because even if they are not making enough money, at the end of the day, they're like a family here. Erin understands his sentiments, but it's just not viable for her. She asks Kyung-gu if they're willing to give her 200 million won. This shocks Kyung-gu, as 200 million won is a ridiculous amount. He doesn't even understand why Erin would require such a huge amount of money. Erin lets him know that at her new workplace, she will be earning a lot more, so it's a better option for her. Kyung-gu gets her point and asks her to at least tell him about her workplace, because he would like to visit and check out to see how things are operated there. Erin says that she, herself, doesn't know where she will be working, but she knows that it's a bar under the K Entertainment banner. This stuns Kyung-gu, as that's a name he doesn't like to hear. Erin further adds that she knows that it's a VIP bar, so they make a lot of money, which is why she will be earning a lot too. Kyung-gu is surprised to know that Yoon Sang-tae also runs a bar like theirs. He wonders if he is running it directly under the K Entertainment banner. Anyway, Erin doesn't want to waste more time and asks for her leave, while thanking Kyung-gu for everything. As Erin heads out, Kyung-gu says it's a disappointment that she's leaving so abruptly, and that he would have at least taken her out for dinner if he had a notice. Erin also tells Shiho to take care of her way out, to which Shiho responds stoically. A bartender there also expresses his displeasure knowing Erin is leaving. However, Erin promises to give him a treat when she's earning well. And so Erin heads out officially. When she's gone, Sihyen asks just what is she even going to go there to earn so much money. The scene then changes to the road, where Kim Gun-woo is driving furiously. Inside the vehicle, President One is struggling to sit still, as the road is bumpy and the speed is ridiculously high. He asks Gun-woo why he is being so extreme. Gun-woo asks President One about their contact to Namiangju, and just how many people in the group even know about it. Nervous, President One says that only him and Kim Gun-woo are aware of this. Gun-woo can't seem to get the math right for this one, as the information has somehow been leaked. Gun-woo has learned that Namiangju has been obliterated by an unknown force connecting the dots. He deduces it's Gun-woo, as it can't be anyone else. Gun-woo asks President One if he really thinks that he can still be on his side after betraying him. President One finally gives up the hopes of defending and ogles out everything. In a flashback, we learn that when Yoon Sang-tae confronted President One, he actually set this all up. He set up President One as a mole for him inside Kim Gun-woo's group. Representative Yoon wanted him to pass on all the information he had. He set it up so that President One would first act like he is betraying Yoon Sang-tae, and this will be backed up by Baek Sang-hwa. And once that is done, they'll be fooled. President One questioned why Representative Yoon was setting up the same trick twice. He replied saying that the masters also use deceptions to deviate their opponent away from their actual goal. It is the art of how wars are won. If they execute it perfectly, they can make them fall for the same trick multiple times. After learning this, Kim Gun-woo is understandably livid and wants an answer from President One. The guy lets Gun Woo know that he is just a normal dude caught up in this big shot action. He just wants to survive, and he did it because of that. Still irate, Gun Woo questions just how much information has President Won given away so far. Did he really tell Yoon Sang-tae about their entire plan? He asked while driving rashly. Knowing that he is in danger, President Won brings out a butterfly knife and tries to stab Gun Woo. Gun Woo drives the steering with one hand, while taking the stab on his other to protect his vital parts. This also makes so that the car gets unstable and the situation ahead gets much more dangerous. President Won exclaims that he wants to survive, and thus will do anything to make sure that he does. However, because of their actions, the vehicle skids harshly off the bumpy surface. It slides through one of the protective barriers. But by the time the brake takes effect, the car is left tethering halfway on the edge of the cliff. Sensing the imminent danger, an injured Kim Gun-woo quickly evacuates the car. President Won is left inside the car though. Seeing him there, Kim Gun-woo buries the hatchet and offers him a hand. He tells President Won to get out of the car with his help to avoid danger, which shocks him. Kim Gun-woo states that he understands that President Won isn't a bad guy and probably didn't want to do all this. But to assure safety for himself and his family, he had to do this. Yoon Sang-tae was pressuring him to do it. So he offers him his hand and tells him to take it quickly, or it might cause him to lose his life. President Won seriously considers it, but his self-respect intervenes, so he refuses the offer. Gun-woo isn't joking around though. He tells President Won that it's fine, and that he should just take his hand. As the car slowly starts tipping over the edge of the cliff, President Won realizes that this is his punishment for doing what he did. He cries as he accepts his fate and gets ready to meet the end. Gun-woo tells him to shut up and take his hand quickly, as they were getting dangerously close to a disaster. However, President Won doesn't do so, and further on, he reveals that Yoon Sang-tae will be striking next Tuesday. This shocks Kim Gun-woo, as President Won further elaborates that he told Yoon Sang-tae that Gwang Hyung-sa were striking next Wednesday, to which he said that they were preparing a day earlier to hit them first. He reveals that Yoon Sang-tae intends to hit Kim Gun-woo and Ko again, as the car finally falls down. Kim Gun-woo makes one last desperate attempt to grab and save President Won, but he gets pushed away by the man himself. Mere moments away from his end, President Won warns Gun-woo again about next Tuesday, and tells him that he has to survive. Subsequently, the vehicle hits the ground below and explodes, creating a massive fire explosion. Kim Gun-woo witnesses this firsthand, and is left traumatized by it. The scene then changes to the bustling city lights of nighttime Sinsadong. A black car drives into a cover parking lot, and the one to get out of it is none other than Erin. Erin is met by another lady donning an attractive black dress and black sunglasses. The lady asks her if she is Erin, to which she nods, and she then tells Erin to follow her. Erin follows the lady as she reaches the end of the parking lot. The lady takes her phone out and does something on it, which ends up opening the wall they were standing in front of, revealing a huge hallway. The hallway is quite creepy in the sense that it has some dull lighting and statues of naked and amputated women. Erin is understandably shaken up by seeing all this, and as the lady tells her to follow her inside, she hesitantly agrees to do so. While they're walking inside, the lady mentions that the customers that come here are extremely hard-working, so they need to be taken care of properly. Erin needs to do that, and she needs to do everything they want on top and below the bed. Erin, still bothered, shakes her head in agreement. The lady then mentions that Erin has signed a contract, so she can't just leave whenever she pleases. She needs to follow the rules and etiquette. The woman also mentions that the last girl she bought in to work here had too much and tried to act out of order. This made her send that girl packing, and not long afterwards, she was found no longer to be alive. She asks if it's the girl who took her own life. By this point, Erin is shaken up to her core, and she doesn't quite know what to say. The lady mentions that the girl was the one who took her own life. Erin tries to find her focus back, and asks the lady if the bar is really operated under the K Entertainment banner. The lady replies by saying that on the surface, they are a K Entertainment subsidiary. But soon enough, they'll come out with their own identity. She notes how they're much better than people like Yoon Sang-tae in every possible way. She takes off her glasses and gives an intimidating look while stating that they hold a vast amount of strength. Aaron tries to ignore it and asks the lady about the pay and if that is guaranteed. She assures Aaron that it is certain that she will be making as much as promised. If she is liked by her customer, then she has the scope to earn even more on top. So, it really depends on her own skills. Thus, she asks Aaron if she is confident enough about herself, to which Aaron says yes. The woman further adds that there's nothing for her to make a fuss about. The entire place is being monitored by CCTV cameras, so if something goes wrong, they'll help. Besides, there's another rule: what happens inside stays inside. One must never try to take the stuff outside. Threatening about going public or wanting to report to the police will not be treated lightly. If one tries to do so, they'll have to pay with their life. Aaron is scared, but she has to do the job. They arrive at the end of the hallway, so the lady presses a button. The button triggers a reaction that dims all the lights off in the hallway and opens the lady's waiting room. The room is bright and illuminated by beautiful chandeliers, as pretty young women are seen wearing some creepy masks on their faces. Aaron is absolutely stunned by seeing this, while the lady, whose name is Madame Catherine, welcomes her to Club B. The scene changes to the again karaoke bar, where Kim Gun-woo is being bandaged while asking Do Kyung-gu about his opinions. Do Kyung-gu states that he can't believe that President Won would do something like that. Kim Gun-woo says that it wasn't really President Won's fault, as he was just a soft-hearted person, being controlled by the devil that is Yoon Sang-tae. However, the important part of all of this is that Yoon Sang-tae is planning to strike Gwang Hyung-sa on Tuesday. Not only that, he also intends on striking the again karaoke bar too. This is shocking news for everyone, especially Yi Shiho, who is taken aback. Kim Gun-woo prepares a plan to tackle the situation by planning to close the bar on Tuesday. He plans on telling all the staff and hostesses to not come near the bar that day. Just then, someone knocks on the door, and upon opening it, they see it's one of their staff. The guy tells Kim Gun-woo that people from Namiangju have come to meet them. Learning this, Gun-woo tells Shiho to take care of the counter and tells Do Kyung-gu to come with him. The two leave, while Shiho is left lost in his own thoughts. He thinks about how next Tuesday he will be able to see Yoon Sang-tae live and in living color at Gwang Hyung-sa. This has him riled up. After that, Kim Gun-woo and Do Kyung-gu make their way outside to meet Park Sang-hoon and Kwon Emo, who have came to pay a visit. They greet each other warmly. Gun-woo is quite formal at first, but Sang-hoon doesn't want him to be. Sang-hoon lets Gun-woo know that he wants to have a conversation on the road, and off they go. On the road, Kim Gun-woo sincerely thanks Park Sang-hoon for letting him know of such important details. Sang-hoon tells him it's no big deal. After all, Gun-woo had previously saved his life in the past, so he is grateful. Sang-hoon mentions how Oh Ji-hong had told him that he was going to introduce him to someone new. However, he already knows Gun-woo, so he went to Ji-hong's place to tell him that. However, what he saw upon going there truly had him stunned. Gun-woo asks him to describe the scene there in detail, but Sang-hoon says it's too grotesque. However, he does let him know that about 10 severed heads were rolling around the floor. Limbs were cut off, lying on the ground still, and blood was splattered everywhere. Also, from the wound on the bodies, it can be told that it was done in a very smooth and crisscross manner. So, it must have definitely been done with the usage of a blade. This is interesting news for both Gun-woo and Kyung-gu. Sang-hoon further elaborates that not only was it a blade, but a long one at that. It seemed like the marks were coming from a different one from the usual sashimi ones that gangsters use. To add more information to this, he tells Kwon No to continues as he is a blade enthusiast. Kwon Emo adds that he had thoroughly examined the posthumous bodies of the people there. From his information, he can tell that wounds inflicted by a sashimi blades are rough and jagged. They tend to leave a lot of marks behind. However, this one was done very smoothly. There were hardly any stabbing marks beside a few around the neck area, which means the blade is different. This makes Gun-woo wonder if the people who inflicted the damage were kendo practitioners. However, Kwon Emo drops a bombshell, which leaves them all stunned. He tells them that the damage was most likely done by one solitary person. This is shocking stuff because you can't expect one person to cause such carnage. Gun-woo doesn't understand it, because Yoon Sang-tae doesn't have someone like that at his disposal. Do Kyung-gu theorizes that it could be the whirl of a mercenary. There were some rumors of him bringing in mercenary. However, bringing in a mercenary of that quality is really next-level recruitment from Sang-tae. This makes him understand that they have been underestimating Representative Yoon all along. Back at the Again karaoke bar, Shiho gathers everyone working there and announces that they'll be off for next Tuesday. This makes them all worry, as off days are becoming more and more frequent. One of the waiters points out how Sihyen and Shiho have gotten closer to each other, to which Sihyen ticks him off. Another girl working there states that it's really bothersome that they're going on a break again. This is not good for the business, and for people like them who are there to earn money, it is a detriment. Shiho doesn't have anything to say, so he just tells them all to pack up and leave for the day. The girls go to their locker to pack up. While there, Sihyen can't help but feel a bit worried about everything going on. She messages Erin, whom she was close with, and asks her how she is doing, but she doesn't get a reply in return. She is too caught up in all of this, and remains at the bar despite everyone leaving. Shiho sees her, and asks her if she isn't leaving. Sihyen tells him to see her off nicely, and calls her by her name. Shiho platonically greets her goodbye, but calls her Sihyen. This annoys her, as she wants him to call her Sujong, and not her stage name. Just then, she receives a message back from Erin, asking her if she wants to work there too, leaving her with a tough choice. At Club B, Erin's body is seen hanging as she had taken her own life. As a man tried to take Erin's body down, her phone was being managed by Madame Catherine, who had replied to Sujong. Showing interest, Sujong tells her that she has next Tuesday off, and if she can come to the place to check then. Madame Catherine messages her while pretending to be Erin, telling her that she can come, and that she will be passing on Madame's contact to Sujong. She tells her to save the contact when she gets it. Excited, Madame Catherine clicks on Sujong's profile to check her photos. She realizes that she is a beautiful girl and looks forward to using her. However, she expresses her disdain towards Erin for taking her own life on the first day at work, labeling it as annoying. The scene shifts to the Bugak Skyway, where Park Sang-hoon of Wonj and Kim Gun-woo are having a conversation. Sang-hoon says that if it's a matter of blades, then it should be something right up Gun-woo's alley. However, Gun-woo doesn't think of it like that, as he has quit being a blade wielder ages ago. Despite that, Sang-hoon thinks he should have something to do regarding this, as he does own and wield a genuine sword. Gun-woo tells him that while it's true, the sword is at the Again bar warehouse, as a useless prop. It's simply been too long since he has left that line of combat, and doesn't want to input anything regarding it. Park Sang-hoon changes the topic, and asks for Gun-woo's permission to suggest something big. Gun-woo allows it, and so he points out how Yoon Sang-tae is planning to hit Gwang Hyung-sa next Tuesday. Due to the sheer size of Gwang Hyung-sa, he needs to go all out and commit seriously to win. This will leave K Entertainment all but empty, so Gun-woo should consider going for it. Gun-woo asks if Sang-hoon is insinuating that he strikes the empty K Entertainment building. Sang-hoon says yes and offers his help to him. He has prepared 70 people to deploy in case of need. Kim Gun-woo seriously considers the suggestion, as Park Sang-hoon says that they can't wait forever. If they don't do anything, nothing will change. Meanwhile, at Gwang Hyung-sa, Lee Ha-min informs her lackeys that she had received a call from Kim Gun-woo earlier. She explains how the call informed them that Yoon Sang-tae knows about their plans to attack on Wednesday. So they've decided to catch them off guard and attack on Tuesday. The lackeys think this is the perfect opportunity for them to now catch Yoon Sang-tae off guard, as he doesn't know that they know about his planned ambush. Ha-min intends to do just that. She meticulously plans every stage of it. She plans on acting to stay up all night during the weekend, citing something as a reason. On Tuesday, she decides to come to work and pretend that she's all alone by herself for personal work. She directs majority of her forces to stay up on the 5th floor and come down to the 4th if needed. The rest can stay on the 3rd floor, as people coming in will need to come to the 3rd floor. The lackeys think this is a masterstroke, as they will have them covered from both sides. She tells them that she will be having Namgung-won on the 5th floor, leading the forces. On the outskirts, it will be Kim Chaniol and company. She tells her lackeys to contact her when the correct time comes, so that she can join in herself. This will allow her to get rid of the Yoon Sang-tae headache forever and stamp her authority in the area. Later on, a man is seen at the cafe across the K Entertainment building, spying on the place. He talks to his boss on the phone and informs that Hwang Jin-hak, Yoo In-sung, and Baek Sang-hwa all are coming in and going out of the place. The behavior seems out of norm, and he reckons it could be the sign of something cooking up. The man is Ryu Hee-soo, the head of the spying department of Seoyang Corporations. He mentions how this land is under the jurisdiction of Yung Pyung-wook, and he doesn't want someone from Seoyang to spy on his place, which is why they need to be extremely careful about their approach, and only intervene when it's of the utmost importance. Suddenly, Hee-soo notices that it started raining, and so he reports it to the boss. He mentions how it was sunny until a moment ago. The boss tells him that it was forecasted to rain, which shocks Hee-soo, as he didn't know it was going to rain on Tuesday. As all of this is going on, Yoon Sang-tae sits at his office, looking very serious a day ahead. Lee Ha-min seems anxious about the day too, as she looks at her father's picture. Shiho closes the Again karaoke bar and joins up with Kim Gun-woo and the rest of the team, as he gets ready to finally attack Yoon Sang-tae's establishment. Whereas, Soo-jong arrives at the damned parking lot, where she is met by Madame Catherine. Just like how she did with Aaron, Madame asks her if she is the girl she was waiting for. In the alleyway, Madame Catherine tells Soo-jong the exact same things she said to Aaron. She tells her that once she signs the contract and steps foot inside the alleyway, there's no going back. She has to honor the contract and can't leave whenever she wants. She mentions how they had a girl who tried to do just that, and she was found unalive due to self-harm not long after. In fact, they made it look like it was self-inflicted when it was not. Soo-jong doesn't want any of that. Nervous, she asks Madame if she can just take her leave now, because she hasn't joined. However, Catherine once again reiterates what she said before and tells her to just follow the rules and be free. And so, she proceeds to take Soo-jong inside. The scene changes to the outside of the K Entertainment building, where Kim Gun-woo's squad, along with Wonj, arrive. They immediately set up fake barriers that say it's a shooting to avoid police interference. Kim Gun-woo gets outside and prepares for battle when Do Kyung-gu informs him that Shiho is missing. He notes that Shiho was right alongside them when they were preparing to come here, but he suddenly disappeared. He deduces that he must have gone to Gwanghyung-sa, knowing that Yoon Sang-tae is going there. Kim Gun-woo is bothered, but lets him know that they're here to loot an empty bank, so Shiho isn't required. And as long as Shiho captures and hands over Yoon Sang-tae to them, it should be fine. Do Kyung-gu still thinks that it's messing up the hierarchy, to which Gun-woo tells him that he will hold Shiho liable later. For now, they needed to focus on attacking K Entertainment. Kim Gun-woo and Park Sang-hoon get ready, before ordering their men to break inside K Entertainment. Their men waste no time in using the steel rods to break through the gate. This shocks the regular employees working there, as they report for an evacuation. But they all start getting taken out by the Allied forces. The Allied forces start wreaking havoc, as Kim Gun-woo orders Kyung-gu to take care of the lobby, while he will be going to the main room. At the main room, Yoon Sang-tae was informed by his secretaries that enemies had infiltrated the office. Yoon Sang-tae remained calm and told them to leave the office. They weren't sure, but when he yelled at them, they got ready to leave. Looking outside, they find out that Kim Gun-woo and co were already heading towards the room. Yoon Sang-tae notes that the hallway won't allow more than 2 people to come at him at once, so he is fine with it. He then tells his secretaries to hide underneath his desk until he tells them to get out. Yoon Sang-tae then gets out of the room and comes face to face with the Allied forces. They are taken aback by seeing the devil himself, as they expected him at Gwanghyung-sa. Yoon Sang-tae explains that Gwanghyung-sa isn't important enough for him to go, and that he sent his other men to take care of that. He then mocks Gun-woo for thinking that he was going to rob an empty bank. Gun-woo is even more exhilarated though, as this is the perfect chance for him to end Yoon Sang-tae too. Kwon Mo then orders his first line of men to attack. They do so, and the first one charges right at Yoon Sang-tae with a rod. However, he gets easily disarmed and then ragdolled back into his partners like he weighed nothing. Yoon Sang-tae then picked up the rod he dropped, and with that he starts causing havoc. He stabs one of the guys in the eye, while he hits others over the head with it. Blood was flying off everywhere, and soon, it was only Yoon Sang-tae standing among the pile of lifeless bodies of the first line of men. The second line are flabbergasted and don't want to charge at him. Yoon Sang-tae then declares that he will be taking the lives of everyone present, which makes Kim Gun-woo finally understand that Yoon Sang-tae is an animal. Meanwhile, the K-entertainment goons arrive at Gwanghyung-sa, led by Yoo In-sung and Baek Sang-hwa. As they get ready, Lee Ha-min watches them from her floor using binoculars. She calls her men, and they tell her that they're planning to trap Yoon Sang-tae on the 4th floor and teach him a lesson. However, Ha-min lets them know that she doesn't see Yoon Sang-tae anywhere. They tell her that he might not have come yet and will eventually arrive later. Just then, Ha-min notices a car coming in. She tells her men that it might be Yoon Sang-tae. However, the one inside the car is none other than Ri Watanabe, the Japanese longsword wielder. She immediately reports to them that it's not Yoon Sang-tae and wonders who it might be. The scene shifts back to the K-entertainment building, where even more men fall flat in front of the monstrous Yoon Sang-tae. The place is filled with the smell of blood, as he stood there like the final boss. The people of the Allied forces were looking intimidated by him, so Kwanimo, the general of the forces, stepped forward. He brings out his trusty knife and says that there is no reason to sacrifice lives anymore, and that he wants to have a 1-versus-1 fight with Yoon Sang-tae. This excites Sang-tae, who drops down the rod he was using till now, as he readily accepts the challenge. The one-on-one duel begins, and Kwanimo wastes no opportunity to go on the offensive. He uses his knife-wielding skills to full use, as he cuts corners and tries to catch Yoon Sang-tae with a wild swing. Yoon Sang-tae has great reflexes though, so he manages to evade the knife slashes by whiskers. Kwanimo gets more intense and tries to land a blow, but Yoon Sang-tae back flips his way out of harm's way. Kwanimo mocks Yoon Sang-tae by asking him if all he can do is move out of the way. Sang-tae claps back at him, saying that he shouldn't talk about bravery when he is the one who brought a knife to a fist fight. For a moment, Yoon Sang-tae drops his guard, and Park Sang-hoon orders Kwanimo to take advantage of it. But as he goes to attack him, they realize that Yoon Sang-tae was just setting up a decoy. When Kwanimo is near him, Sang-tae easily manages to disarm him, and following that, he puts him in an armbar. Kwanimo tries, but his struggle was in no vain, as Yoon Sang-tae easily snaps his arm. Subsequently, he takes Kwanimo into a chokehold position, where he snaps his neck and takes Kwanimo's life. Everyone is left shocked after what Yoon Sang-tae did to Kwanimo. Park Sang-hoon tells his crew to march on, as it was only one guy as their opponent. However, Kim Gun-woo tells him to stop. He tells them that he has finally realized something, and that is that he needs to take care of this himself. Saying this, Kim Gun-woo picks up a rod and decides to use it as a kendo stick. Yoon Sang-tae notices this and asks Gun-woo if he really plans on using kendo. After all, he stopped doing it about a decade ago. Gun-woo lets him know that the only reason he stopped using kendo is because he joined this business. He didn't want to tarnish his art with blood, but now, he is ready to drink Sang-tae's blood. Yoon Sang-tae smirks and gets ready to fight with his bare hands. Kim Gun-woo asks if he is sure about fighting alone, to which Yoon Sang-tae replied that Kim Gun-woo has no idea how good a national champion is at his own craft. On the other hand, Shiho arrives at Gwanghyung-sa with a taxi. He gets ready to join in, as he hears the sound of fighting going on inside the office building.